Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Longbox. I'm here with the person who wins the award for the greatest hair ever on my channel, NDAndrew. By far, that is the greatest coif on to ever appear on my show. Let's. There you go. Good night, everybody. That's all. That's all I wanted to show was that head of
Good night, everyone. That is it's weird to hear that. At the same time, it's not the first stream I've been on that's had that said to me, and it's still weird. If that makes any sense. But I appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me on and inviting me into your home, man.
I look more bald than I am under this lighting, but I'm not gonna lie, it's thinning out. If I had half your head of hair, I'd have a happy day. And speaking of happy days, Zach Tan's giving me the blessing. It's good to see that you're with me on my all new time. For those of you who don't know me, or those of you who follow me and are confused, I'm a construction worker, and you have to go where the jobs are. I'm working at another job. This job can't be done during the day. Sometimes I'm an electrician. Sometimes power can't be shut off during the day, and we can't work on stuff when it's electrified. You know,
reasonably enough.
Yeah, contrary to Steve Ditko comic books, you don't get superpowers. When you get shocked, you get dead.
So, damn.
So I'm working the worst shift in the world, 3:30 to 10. Oh my God, it is just torture. You wake up in the morning and you go, I can't do anything because I got to go to work. And then
you lose your whole day.
Yeah, and then you come home and you go, I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything. So that's what I'm in a limbo. When I wake up, my wife is already at work. When I come home, she's sweet. Yesterday, she hands me a plate of spaghetti and meatballs, says good night.
Well, God bless her.
And I'm down here in the basement eating spaghetti and meatballs by myself. And whatever. But anyway, my internet has also been bad. I had to cancel. I had Phoenix Press on a couple of days ago. I had to just stop in the middle of the show and schedule. It was atrocious. I was about to throw stuff against the wall. I called up. We got it fixed. There was actually something physically wrong in the area. A whole bunch of people were complaining. So there we go. I'm just giving everybody the up to date. Now let's talk with NDAndrew. So NDAndrew, full disclosure, I never really knew who you were. But
that puts you in the vast majority, actually. Yeah, you're in great company. Most people don't know.
Two nobodies over here. Let's get to know each other. So
I'm good with that.
On Twitter the other day about what do you like about comics? And I posted, I like the imagination of comics. I said, you could do anything in a comic book that you can imagine, and budgets and you know, money and everything like that does not pay into it. If you can imagine it, and if you're talented enough to draw it, you could put it in a comic book. And you know, I've been saying this since I was a kid. You show me something cool in a movie, and I'll show you the comic book that did it 20 to 25 years earlier.
Yeah, if not even longer.
And then you like that comment, and then me and you started talking. I said, hey, why don't you come on my channel? So that's
kind of the long and short of it.
Right. Yeah. I knew you have something to do with the Rippaverse, but I really don't know. So I've been talking a lot. So who are you and why are you here? Justify your existence.
Justify my existence, man. I feel like I've been doing that every day for the last 37 years. So I am NDAndrew, at least as I am known by our Rippaverse fans and whatnot. But I'm Andrew Rodriguez. I'm the creative manager and social media manager for the Rippaverse. But I'm also, I think, first and foremost, and I would put far more emphasis on, I'm a comic book fan. I've been reading comic books since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. My very first comic books were the Archie Sonic the Hedgehog comic books that I would get if I was good at the grocery store with my mom or my dad. They would let me pick out a book or two that were on the shelf back when they still had those in the magazine aisle, which has been a very long time.
Biggest mistake in the world was getting comic books only in the direct market.
I agree. But my first superhero comic books were when I was about, I want to say I was maybe 9-10 years old.
Wrong, because Sonic is a superhero.
he was certainly mine. I love Sonic the Hedgehog for a great many reasons. But my first, I guess, mainstream big two comic book purchase was when I was about 9-10 years old. My dad and I were at a yard sale. We had just moved into a new town, and we were at a yard sale, and I believe it was the son had recently moved away to college, and so the parents were selling off some of their stuff, and my dad grabbed two comic books off of one of the tables that were there, and those were Superman, the Man of Steel #0, and the Flash #0, and these were the #0 issues after the beginning of tomorrow, or after the uh, 0 hour event at DC. And I actually have, so these are not my original issues, those are in storage, but I have signed copies of them here now. So these were my very first two comic books that I ever owned. These left an indelible mark on me, and I've been in love with superheroes as a genre ever since, but specifically superheroes who embodied hope and optimism and goodness. And that's something that Superman and the Flash have always done for me. And the Flash, especially because even though in the 90s, when Wally West here is built pretty big, he's got some muscles going to him. God bless Mike Wieringo. God rest his soul. But I was never the biggest kid. I was actually usually the smallest kid. And so I latched on immediately to a character who was fast. He might not have been the strongest physically, but he was fast. And I was always quick on my feet. I did varsity track in high school. I played soccer. And I always loved to run. And there was a freedom that I found in that. And
I love to sit. That's why Mobius is one of my favorite superheroes of all time.
That's why you're a YouTuber, right? It's certainly not why you're a construction worker, because you do anything but sit with that.
Yeah, Superman is my favorite superhero too. Just, you know, I feel like
that's why your character is the same archetype, right?
Right.
That you created.
Yeah, it's inspired by Superman, but I mean every superhero is inspired by Superman. But
he's kind of like the grandfather of all superheroes,
right? Like, because I was. Now that you get me talking about my comic, I can't stop talking about my comic. But yes, I was talking about Kingdom Come with one of my friends, and I said Superman is the patriarch of all the superheroes. You know, if you read that comic, Superman retires, and then all the next generation of superheroes, they become brats. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, think about being gifted, and I hate this word. I can't believe I'm going to use it, but privileged. You grow up with powers and privilege and whatever. Power does corrupt, and that's
absolute power corrupts absolutely.
And Superman was there as the father figure for all the superheroes. Like when he showed back up in Kingdom Come, all the other superheroes kind of looked ashamed, you know. And he didn't have to smack them, and
they knew what they did.
That is the origin of the patriarch. Now, I went through a little bizarre phase of like, wouldn't it be funny to piss off the liberals by making the patriarch, and he was the anti-feminist, and then I realized making a character out of spite doesn't really last, and it's not endearing. It's a good joke, and humor doesn't travel over time and distance. So I was like, no. So I went back to my original idea of the patriarch. Yes, a Superman. I was about to say a word, then I stopped myself. A ripoff is when you do it, for it as a cash grab. An homage is when you do it with respect. So,
an homage is when you do something, I think, out of love, and as you said, out of respect. You have a love for an archetype. You have a love for a genre, and you want to present something that says to your audience, "Hey, I love this thing so much that I tried to make my own version of it," and not my own version in that you have, a writer like, say, Tom King, and I'm going to do my version of Batman, which is a infantile, sissy, right? And a wimp. You're creating an original, fresh take on an archetype that you have a deep and abiding love for, and you want to share that with people. Right. Yes. In a way that speaks to people that, like, hey, if you also enjoy this archetype, maybe you'll enjoy this as well.
Right. And, a couple of people have been, it's just a Superman derivative. I'm like, yeah. I wear it on my sleeve. It's a Superman derivative. It's because
The number of characters that are in comic
right,
books is astronomical.
right. Name me a comic book company, and I'll tell you a Superman derivative. But I'm also tired of all the evil Supermans. Imagine if Superman, but he was evil. I'm like,
That is
no,
one of my least favorite and in fact most hated tropes currently purveying comic books or just entertainment in general. Oh, what if we did a character that was like Superman, but he's evil? Like,
yeah,
look, guys,
and
like
that
Red
also,
Kryptonite has been around for a while. If I want an evil Superman, I would just read a one-off book that it has
well,
Red Kryptonite in, and then I get to move on.
just read a DC comic from the '60s. Ultraman has been around since the
Yeah,
'60s. That is also
exactly.
an old, evil Superman is also an old trope. So imagine Superman, but he's good. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Imagine that. That's more rare these days, it seems like.
And so I love Superman. I love the Thing. I love the character that I call it a Pinocchio, a character that just wants to be a real boy. Ben Grimm was transformed. He was dealt the worst hand of cards in
Yeah.
not only the Fantastic Four, but probably of all of superherodom. And he's a rock monster. And
Mhm.
I always think like Ben Grimm probably doesn't have the sensation of touch. So like when he's hugging Alicia, he probably doesn't even feel it. Like when
No, I imagine that's like one of those like underlying
right.
parts of like he could look in the mirror and hate how he looks, but the harder part is when he wants to embrace somebody that he loves and there is zero sensation there.
Right. That's why he's always bringing up, I'm the blue-eyed, ever-loving thing, because that's the only thing that he still has from before the transformation. Like I just, and everybody says, "Oh, the X-Men represent us. The X-Men represent us." And originally, the X-Men represented anybody who's not. But I would like, who didn't feel
X-Men are the other, right? The
right?
general
And
other.
Ben
Anybody
Grimm
who feels like an outcast.
I was a big goofy kid. I never felt it. I liked the Human Torch, but he got cool powers and he's handsome and he's good looking and stuff like that. Reed Richards, I always love Reed Richards too. But man, that Thing, he just, I just love the idea that he was dealt the worst hand of cards in the existence of superheroes, and he still latches onto his humanity. He's talking about his blue eyes. He clearly to what makes. Meanwhile, Johnny Storm kind of takes it for granted, and it's not Johnny's fault.
He does.
He's given it cool.
He
power.
does.
And
he was dealt all the good hands, and so it's easier to take things for granted when that happens.
So I love that trope. So I love the Superman trope, the innate goodness, the father figure, the inspiration, the model, and then the other trope I love is the Pinocchio, like Hellboy. Like even though Hellboy was never human, he got Atomic Robo. If you ever read Atomic Robo,
yeah.
The Thing, obviously, the Hulk.
Yeah.
All of these guys who just they don't want their powers. I find that to be so endearing.
They miss their humanity. They have a deep longing for the humanity.
But I'm easy to talk.
No, I love the conversation.
My first introduction to superheroes were Power Rangers, Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman, and my favorite hero is Batman. I love the Batman trope too. The dark, moody, midnight event. But my problem with Batman is he's just a man, but paradoxically, he's the most powerful superhero in the world. I like Batman as the world's greatest detective.
Mm-hmm. That's where I prefer my Batman to reside. I think Batman is one of those characters who is. It's very easy, especially if you're a fan of the character, because when you're a fan of something, you always want that thing to be the greatest thing ever, right? It's natural. It is a very easy thing to slip into, and that's where you get, that's where a lot of people will fall into Mary Sue or Gary Stu writing, right? Where it's like, I love this character, so I automatically want them to be the best and greatest ever at everything that they do, right? And never have any problems, never lose a fight, whatever. I think a lot of people fall into that trap when it comes to Batman, because Batman's cool. I love Batman. I grew up with the freaking 90s animated series, right? And I grew up also reading the comic book adaptations of those, as well as Chuck Dixon's run on Batman, a lot of the Bat family. Like I grew up in a beautiful heyday, and then I read Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams' work, and all that. And I had a just this wellspring of wonderful works to absorb when I was young and growing up. But with Batman, it's very easy to have this desire to want him to automatically be the best at literally everything. It's like, no, every character can have their pocket. Every character can have the thing that they are best at. World's greatest detective is what I like that to be for Batman. I don't need him to always be the guy who's like, oh, he can beat literally anybody as long as he's got 5 minutes of prep time. Like, come on, really? Can we be a little more realistic than
I
that?
always say that too. Anybody with prep time beats anybody without prep time. Like Ben Grimm. Ben Grimm's not a dummy.
No, not at all.
Ben Grimm could beat you with prep time. Spider-Man's a genius. You know what I mean? Like
He was acknowledged by one of the most brilliant minds on the planet as being one of the most brilliant minds on the planet, right?
well, I'm just showing this off now because you said you remember that show with Groucho Marx when you say the magic word, things pop up.
Oh, you're speaking my language now. I don't have them. My parents do, but when I was living at home, we got an entire box DVD set
Okay,
of the Groucho Marx films.
You said Mary Sue, so I have to bring this up because Mary Sue is my character who will make a debut in Heroic Tales #2. I assume that there's people that have never watched my channel before. I could see the people in the chat, but Heroic Tales #2 debuts a new character, Mary Sue. Mary Sue is a perfect girl, and she gets the ultimate superpower, and then realizes that being perfect ain't all it's cracked up to be. She does something in this issue with her. She doesn't know she has powers. She doesn't know, and then she does something. And then next issue, we deal with the ramifications of what she did this issue. So you said Mary Sue, just like Groucho Marx, the duck is going to come down. And I'm surprised you get that reference.
Duck soup.
You got like a baby face, you know.
Duck soup. Yeah, I grew up watching. I feel very blessed. I grew up with parents who, introduced me to a lot of fantastic old films. I watched a lot of Frank Sinatra films and a lot of Bing Crosby. And one of my favorite Christmas film is White Christmas. Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye. Do I know what?
Do you know Pete Samedi from Alternative?
I know. Yeah, I know of him for sure.
Whenever I'm with him, whenever he's on my channel or on my, it turns into a Rat Pack channel, and we just talk about.
That's amazing.
The only other
Sammy Davis Jr. Who's Sammy Davis Jr. in your group?
It's funny that you said that because as I said, we got to start assigning Rat Pack names to all
exactly
for Alterna. Then I guess we forgot about it or whatever.
That's wonderful.
I know that you're working on a comic. Are you writing a story?
I am. So I created and wrote a character for the Rippaverse. So his given name is Zephyr Arland, which has a lot of meaning behind it. And he is our speedster. He's or at least intended to be our solo speedster if fans enjoy him enough. If people don't and they tell me to go back to just writing my little pigeon comic strips that I do in our magazine, then that's okay. I at least gave a crack at it.
I asked you if you're writing because I'm interested in your writing now because the fact that you know all of these old school references and Marx Brothers and stuff like that's a good sign. Marx Brothers was clever. So if you know all these Marx Brothers and all this old school Rat Pack stuff, already you piqued my interest as far as your writing.
The level of clever is a very important word there. And that's not me calling myself clever. The cleverness in the writing of movies like the Groucho Marx Brothers movies, nothing today in any medium touches it. It's unsurpassed. It's absolutely incredible. And I'm blessed that my parents showed me those movies at such a young age and introduced me to all sorts of other good things, like other movies and fantastic music. I have a wide range of music that I love, and I thank my parents for that. But the writing and the humor in the Marx Brothers is just absolutely incredible. Like you don't really get better than that. You can't. And there are a lot of and that's including all the fantastic older films that had comedy to them. Like even some of just the best, like Marx Brothers just can't be passed for me. They're absolutely amazing.
So I didn't know this. Again, I just kind of met you a week ago. If talking on Twitter is considered meeting people.
Twitter isn't real life. We know this.
Twitter is fake.
Thank God.
Yeah, Twitter is fake and gay. The internet is fake and gay. Guys,
yes,
taking the internet and YouTube and Twitter seriously, you got problems. And if it's your only social outlet, go outside, get a construction job, meet some real people for a change. But I didn't know you made up Blue Shift. That's the name of the character, right?
Blue
Right.
Shift, yes, and it is for those who are scientially educated. Yes, that is in reference to like Doppler effect and how things shift on the visible light spectrum in terms of wavelengths and things like that. Is very deliberate. And there's story and there's story, narrative, and visual ramifications and representation of that in the character that I created.
Yeah. See, I assume that you haven't watched my channel, but that's one of my big things is for superheroes, because a couple of people start bringing up sci-fi and westerns. I'm talking for superheroes. The superhero name defines everything about the character,
Mhm.
and that's what you know. So when you said Blue Shift, or I mean, I saw the image first, and then I found out that the name was Blue Shift. But I immediately was like, it's a speedster, approaches the speed of light, the Doppler effect, and so far everything you described, like I call it a triangle. Like everything falls from the name, like the patriarch, because that's my character. So his name is the patriarch. So his what is a patriarch? He's a father figure. What do fathers do? They're providers, protectors. So that's what he does. He protects his city. And if you read my first issue, when he comes flying into a bank robbery, he doesn't come in clobbering. He comes in talking. He tries to de-escalate, because a father doesn't just walk into your room when you're midnight.
A good father.
The stereo and start hitting everybody. What are you doing? What are you doing, Andrew? We talked about this. I got to go to work in the morning. And that, so that's that. A couple of people were like, why did he come in and start talking? Because he's a father. But anyway,
a good father understands that there is power behind the ability to authoritatively de-escalate a situation.
I'm gonna deconstruct or construct Blue Shift. So Blue Shift is his name. Obviously, his costume has to be blue, and Blue Shift speedster, and like you said, Doppler effect. So he moves. I would assume close to the speed of light, or approaching the speed of light, enough to the fact that he does shift blue. Am I close? Am I wrong?
You're getting there. You're along similar lines. So I wanted to, you are correct in that the shifting blue is a thing. Now, something that I was very deliberate with when I made my pitch for this character and this story to Eric was that, and he understood this because he is also a big fan of the Flash. Speedsters can get out of hand in an expanding universe very quickly.
Absolutely.
And so you can at some point down the road get there, but you got to build to that, and you got to, I guess, for lack of a better term, pace yourself, right? You got to let your world, because we're only a 3-year-old company. We're still, trying to get the handle on things. And so we're still building on our universe. And because of that, we don't want to power scale ourselves too quickly, because things will get out of hand.
Nothing ruins a good character like being too powerful.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a big fan of moderately powerful characters. Somebody was on my channel, and they said, "Oh, I have a character," and I'm not going to mention the name because the point of the story isn't to embarrass anybody. But they said, "Oh, my character could beat your character. He could beat Superman. He could beat the Hulk. He could be this." I was like, "That's great." I said, "But that doesn't sound like good storytelling.
That doesn't make them a good character.
Where's the suspense?" I said, "No offense," and again, since we're talking about this, that's like a rookie mistake or something a 7-year-old would make up.
Yeah.
What I mean?
Saying, "Oh, that's like my father can beat up your father," right? That doesn't carry in storytelling, especially not in expanding world storytelling.
I don't know my channel. Oh.
Right.
Sorry, it froze up, so I didn't mean to speak over you.
No, you're good. You're good. I just it's important to not let the power scaling get away from you. And that was something I was very insistent on. So if somebody were to say, "Oh, well, who's faster, your speedster or the Flash?" I'd be like, the Flash. All of them are faster than my speedster. Pietro, Quicksilver is faster. Velocity over at Image from Cyberforce is faster. She's where his hair actually took inspiration. So for like the super bright red, not ginger, orange, red hair is actually more inspired from Velocity, Karen Taylor's hair over at Cyberforce. A lot of people don't know that. Like, I want him to be at a place where he is clearly faster than everybody else here, but he has a lot of room to grow as the universe grows, as the power scaling grows at a proper pace, because I want to be able to tell foundational stories. I want to be able to tell stories where, he gets to just like figure out, because he's young. He's also our youngest hero. I want him to be able to figure out how he's going to tackle just taking down bank robbers who are using guns. Can he outrun a speeding bullet? I don't know. He doesn't know. He's going to have to figure it out on the fly.
And how do you learn that? Oops, I was wrong. I can't outrun us.
Yeah, right. So and that in and of itself is stuff that you can use in the storytelling. That's character growth. And
Right.
and that's something that you only get to build on as you go. There's no this is it's kind of ironic. Even though he's a speedster, this storytelling is not a sprint. This is a marathon. This is something where, if the fans are gracious enough to want more of him, and I am allowed to write more of him, then I'm going to take my time with fleshing that out and building him towards that, because he gets to learn on the fly. He's young, he's a kid, he's a teenager. I want him to be a character that people want to root for, but that there are many times where they also want to take off their shoe and throw it at his head because he's a teenager and he makes dumb choices because he's a teenager.
Yeah. I you brought up Wally West and everything. Like my problem with the Flash, like right now in DC, it's almost unrealistic for anybody to defeat the Flash.
No, it's not even almost unrealistic. It's completely unrealistic, because only a year and a half or two ago, he outran the concept of infinity, when Granny Goodness kidnapped his and Linda's most recent child, which I'm not going to get on why it's annoying that they added a third child when they hadn't fleshed out the other two in a long time, and they'll just barely brought them back into continuity. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole rant in itself. But like, if writers are taking continuity seriously, you can't beat him. There's nothing he can't do.
Well, first off, he could time travel.
Yeah.
So
there's no time travel happening with my speedster. It's not happening.
Once you could time travel, you're unbeatable.
Yeah.
Messed
that up. I'm gonna go back in time 5 minutes and fix it.
I have I'm gonna have a time travel story in it's scheduled to be in Heroic Tales 5, and it's gonna show my philosophy on time travel. Don't worry, there's no alternate universes. Like when I had Eric July on my channel, because I heard him talk, and again, he was another guy I didn't know anything about until all of a sudden I was hearing he was making a comic, and he was talking about dead means dead, no do-overs, no restarting, continuity, no multiverse. And I was like, this is all the stuff that I really like, So that's what I wanted to talk about.
So it creates tension. It creates. Right. You have to be committed to the story that you're telling, for good or for ill.
I that's why I'm almost done with the MCU movies, because now they have a time machine, and they have a time machine that generates Infinity Gauntlets. I mean, isn't that what that time machine did?
Basically.
Yeah. So they could. Yeah. Okay. So
and never mind the Loki season 1 TV show where they just had Infinity Stones in a freaking desk drawer, where it's like, oh, let's just laugh that off as though the first decade of the MCU didn't matter at all. Right. This is a big joke.
So that's why.
So why are we here?
I liked Wally West, and I liked Wally West as the Flash when Mike Baron was writing him. I remember he limited the Flash to like 700. Yeah, there you go. The Jackson.
I even got Mike to sign it for me.
Oh, Mike is awesome. Mike is the best.
Mike is great. Mike is wonderful.
But I don't know why I remember this, but I remember his normal top speed, was 770 miles an hour. I don't know why I remember that. So he had to constantly eat to maintain the calories to generate that speed and to move. And I thought that was so cool. And I loved Barry Allen. You know, I was a little kid, Barry Allen, and then Barry Allen died in the greatest comic book death of all time. It never should have came back again. And to my sensibilities, he ran so fast he turned into the lightning bolt that went back in time and gave him the powers. It was just a beautiful, you know.
It was a full circle moment.
It was a false, an Ouroboros just that closed itself off. It was, and then it never should have brought him back. You know, glorious ending, the best death of all comic book time, and then they ruined it. And then Wally West was a natural successor, and I agree with everything you said. Wally West could run across the states, but it took time, it took effort. He was stopping and getting hot dogs, and of course now he could travel through time. He could do this. He could do like. I know I catch hell for saying this, but like the first Donner movie, the Superman movie, Lois Lane dies, so Superman travels back in time and fixes it. And that's like, so why don't you travel back in time and fix my mother's death? Or does she not matter? You know, like once you have time travel, you allow bad things to happen. You know what I mean? Unless they make like some sort of excuse, like this is a once in a lifetime, you know.
Yeah. So everything you choose, everything you make the conscious decision not to undo is now depraved indifference on your part.
Right.
Yeah. Or malice.
Right. So that's why like Flash right now, because he could just run, like he could do anything. There's no limits. They don't even show him getting tired. So just, you know, he could become this like angelic being that just, you know, he's everywhere at once. He could like he's like this omniscient fixer of everything, you know.
I mean, they even give him you know, the powers of Dr. Manhattan and the Mobius chair at one point, very briefly, for like 5 seconds before they recanted on that with what they were doing in Deathman.
DC is just unforgivable. Yeah, Foil variant says Dr. Manhattan can beat it. I like Dr. Manhattan as this unbeatable, all-powerful being because Alan Moore, first off, is a genius. I know it's you know, it's fashionable to poop on Alan Moore these days, but I love Alan Moore. But his indifference, you know, and almost like Dr. Manhattan almost had like a script he was following that he couldn't stray from. Like ironically, he was the most powerful being in the universe, but he couldn't stray. Like if what he saw what was going to happen, it's not like he saw possibilities and he saw alternate reality. He saw what was going to happen. So he, you know what I mean? So he was almost a slave to destiny. I thought that was just brilliant. Brilliant.
Dr. Manhattan is an interesting character for sure.
Right. Oh yeah. I love the Watchmen. I love the Watchmen. Is Blue Shift faster than a Tesla?
He is faster than Tesla. I can give him that much. I won't give the exact number. I do so. All of the writers at the Reverse create what we call universe Bible entries for the characters that we create, which lists out their powers, the limitations, their weaknesses, backstory that, you know, the fans and readers may or may not get in the immediate future or even for a ways down the line, God willing. And I have different limitations and upper limits of him for his speed, regards to his speed, listed out for different potential future story arcs.
Okay.
And like those are very deliberate.
Correctly, you actually have his powers written down.
Yes.
Like his limits and like, so that's
very specific limits.
Well, I'm showing, this is a card from my first campaign. This was the villain, and this is a character sheet because all my old comic book is inspired by a role-playing game. I don't know if you're familiar with Dungeons and Dragons or.
I have been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was in 7th grade.
Okay, so there's a superhero version
and GURPS. I started with GURPS in 5th grade.
Generic role-playing system, right?
Yep.
Generic.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's a system called Villains Vigilantes. That's a Dungeons Dragons, but it's superheroes. And I've been playing this, as you can see. Here's a Villains Vigilantes logo on the card. This is so this is my character, and this is literally their character sheet. If you buy the old Villains Vigilantes game, this is what their character sheet. So you literally know his strength, what he can carry. And I do that for all my characters. So you know, if you're buying my comic book and you see the Patriarch shoot laser beams, you got the card with the character sheet. He doesn't have laser beams.
Yeah.
I like limiting myself, and a couple of
The
people.
limitations foster creativity and force you to be clever with your storytelling, because it'd be, I mean, going back to the whole speedster conversation, if Zephyr could run right now at faster than light speed, that solves all of his problems very easily. Like there's
But
nothing to be worried about there at that point.
oh, like I have a character in my comic. I'm going to introduce him in Patriarch #1. His name is Captain Atlas, and Captain Atlas is overpowered, and he's purposely overpowered. He could, but because I'm too respectful, he couldn't beat Superman. But he could give Superman a run for his money.
Mhm.
That's how powerful he is. But he's got such a weakness that it makes up for his power.
So I like that.
You know what I mean? And to the point, there's not a person on this planet that would want to be Captain Atlas, because his weakness is so debilitating and horrible, to the point they keep it a secret from everybody. And I already spoiled too much, because if I talk too much, but
I like that though, because that's thinking about that's balance, right? Because it's sure, it's fun to create super cool powers for your characters, and yeah, your characters that you create are kind of like they're your kids, right? They're your babies, and you want them to win, you want them to succeed, you want them to have all the cool things that they can do. But at the same time, when it comes to storytelling, you need to balance that. There needs to be a proper balance between powers and weaknesses. And the moment, so Eric has a specific look that he gives. There's like a glint in his eye and a look that he'll give in his face when he's really sold on something. And he was already kind of like nodding when I was telling him about my character in my pitch meeting with him. But then when I told him what the catch was, what the weakness was for the character, and people will learn about the weakness when they read the short story.
We don't know yet.
No, you do not know. You're gonna have to read the short story in Ripazine #5, and it'll get expounded on, God willing, again, if I get to write more. But I gave him a very specific, incredibly debilitating weakness that balances.
Is it the color red?
No, no, I didn't pull an old school Green Lantern by just making a color the weakness when yellow used to be.
Face?
Not quite.
He's getting shot in the face by a snub-nosed revolver.
I mean, that's I think that's a weakness for most of us. I don't feel like I have any resistance to that.
But that's pretty cool that you're planning on something. I highly recommend this. And again, I'm a rookie. I got one comic book out, so you could call me on my nonsense.
I'm less than a rookie. My short story is 16 pages, so I don't even have half a comic book out yet.
So, but I think like literally writing down like the stats to your character. Like all right, not everybody plays Dungeons Dragons or role-playing games or whatever, but if you're a comic book fan, you've seen the DC Who's Who of the Marvel Universe. Mm-hmm. Write down everything that your character could do, and look I'm about to. Yeah, I'm doing it really fast, but there's secret notes about the Patriarch that I have to reference every once in a while. You just be like, oh yeah, because consistency. I want this to match up to this when I reveal that later, but. Mm-hmm.
But that's important to create and maintain continuity for yourself with your storytelling, right? Both not just with the overarching narrative, but also maintain the powers being in continuity, but also the character's personality, right? Like, is this character doing something in character? Like, is this thing Zephyr has bad knees? No, that's actually just me when I wake up.
That just made me funny. He's the world's fastest man, but he's got a bad hip.
Yeah, no, that's me after years of soccer and cross country and track. My knees are shot.
Oh my god! Can you imagine? Oh geez, now I can't think of it. But what is it that every construction worker has that sciatica? He's got sciatica. Yeah. Oh my god,
that would be so debilitating.
I wouldn't wish that on Dr. Doom. He's the world's fastest man, but he suffers from sciatica.
Or he's got scoliosis or something. It's like
flat feet and it hurts when he runs.
Right. Oh gosh, that would be brutal. You'd have to name that hero Dr. Scholl.
Oh, there you go. That's So I keep interrupting you, but you're just making me laugh. The comments make
Ah,
me laugh.
that's good. I'm enjoying the conversation. I'm genuinely enjoying the conversation.
Well, I'm going to share this. Okay, here's my speedster.
Oh, I love that design.
So what I do is I sketch out poorly, and then I give it to Renzo, and then Renzo.
Renzo, I didn't realize that you were working with Renzo, who it is just an incredible artist.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
I saw his work on RJ for the Fourth Age Top
mhm.
Power, and I said, "This is what I want." Like I'm not even joking when I say Renzo's artwork is a mix between George Perez and John Byrne, and
Yeah,
right now in my mind, I'm lucky enough to be working with the greatest superhero comic book artist. You know,
he is incredible.
it's so good. It's so good. Every time and he's getting better, man. If you remind me, I'll show you his latest page. It's for a comic in somebody else's comic that I'm lucky enough to be, and I'm being tight-lipped about it. But I could show the page because it's not gonna spoil anything. But this
Okay.
is my speedster.
I
So
love this design already. I'm so
she,
here for all of this.
her superhero name, she's the go-getter, and she's quick. She's not light speed or anything like that. But what do you think her weakness would be? Because I love weaknesses, and I love my heroes having problems.
Having clever weaknesses is so important for balancing out characters, not just to maintain not going overboard with your power scaling, but also for creating tension, right? Within your story. If your character doesn't have a weakness that is commensurate with their power level, you you run the risk of people not really worrying about
Right.
the character ever failing, right?
Right. So I mean, the clues are all over her. She's got knee pads, goggles. She doesn't have fast reflexes. So she's a normal human, but she could run really fast. And she's also subject to momentum. So so
Ah,
she can't turn on a dime. Also, like if she runs really fast, other people are going to get knocked down, things like that. So she'll run fast,
mhm.
faster than the average person. But if she breaks into super speed, she's not invulnerable. If she
Yeah.
trips and falls, she's dead. And and she's based on the personality is based on a girl I went to college with, so she's kind of flighty and dingy. So I think people are gonna like this character, the go getter. So mostly she's a go
Does
getter.
she appear in this most recent issue that you currently have
Issue
on
two,
Fund My
she has
Comic?
a cameo. In issue 2, she has a cameo, and then
Okay.
the next issue of that, the whole team is getting involved in an adventure. So
Okay.
but I just love like her weakness is
I
she's
like
mute,
that.
but who could run fast. Like if all of a sudden if you were to throw something at her and she moves, like she can't stop on a dime. She would have it
Yeah.
would take like a football length of to slow down. Her
Yeah.
shoes are always getting ripped up. She's tumbling. You know what I mean? She has like a like a Kevlar armor suit but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. She's so
I
wouldn't go
like
get her
that.
tendons tear. Then yes, she's always required physical therapy and things like that.
I I like that. I like that a lot. I I'm people who are familiar with me, which is probably about 5.5 people online, because I'm still a relative nobody, and that's okay. Um, I I love just the speedster archetype in general. So it's no secret that I'm a fan of the Flash. I've got all of Mark Waid's omnibuses here, as well as all the Jeff Johns hardcovers. I've got the complete runs of New 52 through the Rebirth era and beyond. Like I've got all of that, and I've got the singles in storage and in my short boxes and long boxes. But I also love other speedsters as well. I love Quicksilver. I love shoot. I was just rebagging this week my issues of the 4-issue run of Velocity by Kenneth Rocafort. Um, I love the archetype, and what I especially love is different people's takes on it, but especially different people's takes who combine a clear understanding of the archetype. Because there are certain things when you're dealing with archetypes, fans, especially those of us who are comic book fans, we have certain expectations, right? And it's like, okay, does this person understand this archetype? Show me. Show me in the writing. Show me in the design. Does this design make sense? Do I look at this design and I say, that's a speedster, right? Okay, I can see that being a speedster. I'd look, your design you just had for Go Getter, that absolutely looks like a speedster. That's a fantastic design. I love that. I absolutely adore that. And on top of that, being paired with that, I like seeing different people's takes on how they explain some of the potential pitfalls of a speedster. So like what you're doing, right? Where it's like, okay, so your twist is, all right, so she can move at super speed, but the catch, she doesn't have the reflexes that are commensurate with that necessarily. And she
That's
also,
another power.
yeah,
That's a whole other power.
exactly.
And she doesn't have the resolution. So like, what did I just see?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so
that's fun. That creates a lot of stuff to work with the storytelling.
Yeah. So when you see her take off and like running to catch a bullet, I want that to be like like she'll catch that bullet, but she might die. Like, what I mean? If she hits something, if she trips, if she's not paying attention, she hits a tree. That's the end of her.
I'm not a Flash fan that has a dislike for the Speed Force. I actually like the Speed Force and all that.
I think the Speed Force was the worst idea possible.
And I can understand why you would come from that position. A lot of people do, for sure. But I like when everybody else doesn't try to do what the Speed Force does. I've seen other people create speedster characters, even recently, and they'll say, oh, well, they tap into this thing. I was like, well, you just did the Speed Force.
Right.
That's not like DC gets to get away with that. Mark Waid got to get away with that, right?
Yeah.
But you're not Mark Waid in his heyday before he became a psychopath on social media.
Mark Waid deserves he was a good writer. I don't know if he still is a good writer, but he wrote Kingdom Come. He wrote
when he tries, he still is.
Right.
When he doesn't try, he is not.
Needs to be a professional. He needs to be a professional.
If he just stayed off of social media and just told himself, I am Mark Waid. I love superheroes. I want to write good superhero comics.
And I'm telling
you,
same with Dan Slott. I met Dan Slott back when he was writing The Thing. You know what I mean? And he was telling me about his new series She-Hulk that was coming out.
Yeah.
It was going to deal with superhero law. And I was like, oh my God, I love that idea. And he invited me to sit down at his table. So I'm at a convention. People order, he wasn't that popular, so we had a lot of free time. And we were just coming up with cold cases. Like people just like, is there freedom of I was like mind control. The Purple Man made me do it. And that's a legit.
Yeah.
Well, now you have to get the Purple Man. And the Purple Man's like, I'm tired of being the scapegoat. I told him, you got to make a story where a guy's suing the X-Men for being discriminated against because he's not a mutant and he wants to go to that school. And he was like writing ideas down. We were having so much. And then later on, he blocks me on Twitter. It's like, come on, man. Don't you remember? I have like 10 pictures of me and him both getting fatter and bolder. And my wife used to say I was Dan Slott's #1 fan. And she's like, oh, you going to the comic convention, meet your boyfriend?
He has some genuinely great comics.
The guy's an absolute lunatic on TV, and he is still a writer. I still like his writing. Like his Fantastic Four.
He's actually writing some decent stuff right now. Superman Unlimited actually is solid right now at DC, which just started 2 months ago. I want to say it's nothing. It's nothing groundbreaking. It's nothing amazing, but you read it and you're like, that was a fun Superman story. And at the end of the day, if I'm entertained and I close a comic book that I just spent $4.99 on, right, for something that took me all of 15 minutes to go through, and I'm like, that was fun. If that's my response, that's a win in my book, right? But a lot of these guys just need to get offline.
Get offline.
Get off social media. Nobody's better on social media. Nobody is the best version of themselves online.
Yeah. I learned the hard way. I for the longest time, I didn't rise to the bait, and then I don't know. It's almost like clockwork. Like almost like it seems like every 3 months, I say something that I shouldn't have said, or I react to something that I should, and it always bites me in the ass, and I always regret it. And now, I think I'm 2 months into being calm again. So maybe in the future I'll say something stupid again or whatever, or react to something I shouldn't
We're
react to.
human. We'll
Yeah, I
always
know,
say
but I
something
always
stupid.
regret it. Foil variants. Oh, I just realized my StreamYard is all fixed up. Oh, cool. Because it was posted the after at names. It was driving me crazy. But foil variant says, what is Spider-Man's weakness? Spider-Man has the coolest weakness in the history of comic books. Spider-Man has a sense of guilt and responsibility. It's a psychological weakness. He feels guilt for the death of Uncle Ben. He feels responsible for Aunt May. Aunt May took care of him, and now it's his turn to take care of Aunt May. And then to reinforce it, Gwen Stacy died, and that compounds the guilt. And then
Captain Stacy.
Right, and then Captain Stacy died. So Spider-Man is rated. It's so funny that it's like
the
Jewish
internal weakness can be just as powerful and debilitating,
right? And
as
that's
any
why I love
external
Marvel
weakness.
weaknesses more than DC weaknesses. DC weaknesses, kryptonite, a magic rock, the color yellow, being bound by a man. That Wonder Woman's weakness.
Man, early Wonder Woman, man, that was wild.
Spider-Man, to the point now, if I was to take over Marvel, Chuck Dixon said the illusion of change is what comic books need. Comic books shouldn't really change because you don't want Batman being an 80-year-old man because he's been around for 70 years. You know what I mean? So there's this illusion of change. And what I would do with Spider-Man is he gets married, he has a kid, the baby is born, Aunt May meets the baby.
Speaking of Dan Slott, so renew your vows.
Right. And there's this happy thing, and then Aunt May dies. She dies happy. She sees the grandkid. And then Spider-Man, Peter Parker, they realize there's something wrong with the baby because of Peter's radioactive blood. And now it's the illusion of change. It's the same thing. Now he's taking care of, he used to take care of Aunt May. Now he has to, in the middle of a fight with Dr. Octopus, I have to get the medicine for the baby. The baby had a rare blood poison. And now I have to do, and it's the same freaking thing, but in a different direction. And the illusion, you know what I mean? And that's
to give accolades to Dan Slott. He did that kind of, not identically to that, but he did that in Renew Your Vows, in Spider-Man when he wrote that Elseworlds arc, because
Elseworlds,
it was this wonderful thing, which is, it felt like such a natural progression of Peter's character, because yes, Peter struggling is part of the thing that we latch on to, because we all struggle with something. Right. But the thing is, once you have Peter struggling with the exact same things in perpetuity, it no longer lands the same way. It no longer has the same strength and power narratively, because it's like, well, how long is he going to be struggling with rent? How long is he going to be struggling with a job? He's a grown-ass man now, right? Like, so what you do is you figure out a way to organically have him overcome those problems, but now he's got to deal with other problems, right? So now, instead of struggling to pay rent, instead
of the guy who's on a team with Tony Stark is having problems with rent.
Yeah, it's not. It's hard to sell.
He punched Thanos. You know what I mean? He's been to Jupiter. He's been. He's been to the past. He's been to the future. All right,
it's a hard sell. So instead of that,
too. But now I'm a 56-year-old man. I don't struggle with rent anymore.
Right now, I'm an adult. I'm okay.
I wish rent was my main problem these days. You know what I
mean? Exactly. So instead of dealing with rent, instead of dealing with, struggling to find a job or maintain a job, instead now you're struggling to balance, alongside your web slinging and being a hero. Now you're balancing, or struggling to balance, being a hero with being a good husband and being a good father and being there for them, and now protecting them. That adds a whole other layer.
Right. So it's not just who knows that you're Peter Parker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's if I mean,
that's organic progression.
That's why the Patriarch's family lives off the grid. They homeschool, they homestead, because there's a story that will be revealed in Patriarch number 2 of why the family is the world at large doesn't know he's married and has a family.
Okay, that's a big reveal. That's something that is heavily impactful on a narrative sense, and that's organic progression for a character when you allow them to grow beyond their problems here that they have when they're a teenager or in their early 20s, and now they're dealing with different problems. It's not changing who the character is, it's
Right.
changing the types of problems that they have to deal with.
Like Batman, now he's kind of dealing with the problems that Spider-Man should have. Like Batman is a father figure now. He's got like the whole Bat family.
He's got Damien, he's got Tim, he's
Right.
trying to figure out like what the hell is Jason doing right now? He's got all
Right.
these things he got to juggle.
Right. I think Marvel Comics has never recovered, because it's almost like Spider-Man is the Fisher King of Marvel. The strength of Spider-Man is the strength of the comic company, and Spider-Man hasn't recovered from one more day.
One more day. Yep. One more day. I talk about this with my my co-host Spencer, who for Foil Variant, who's in the chat all the time. And if I was writing a Spider-Man story called One More Day, instead of it had been being the one more day with Mary Jane and and signing his freaking marriage over to Mephisto and all that stupidity, it would have been, in order to save Aunt May, who was old as freaking dirt at that point, it would have been One More Day with Aunt May, and it would have been, I have to absorb all the lessons that she taught me throughout my entire life, and then she is going to impart her blessing and say to me and my wife, now you two need to impart these blessings onto others as you go
Right.
forth, right? And for your own children.
It really ruins the character of Aunt May, if you ask me, because I don't know about you, but my grandmother, if she, at the age of 92 or however old Aunt May is supposed to be, she's like the biggest paradox in comics. She's old and frail, except she could be thrown off of every building in the world,
and Marvel has their sliding time scales, so like they're always perpetually in the same age range in perpetuity.
She's supposed to be like an old fart away from death old lady. Now, no old lady at that age would say, give up your wife, give up your future children, give up my grandchildren, so that I could have another 3 months. I'm 92 years old. How much longer do you honestly think? If the devil's giving you a choice, let me go. I had a good life. Now I'll go see Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
So
let me go to my husband now.
Right.
Basically.
And you go to your wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then again, this is written by Marvel, a bunch of childless, unmarried freaks, you know what I mean? Like, who despise the idea of family.
It certainly read that way, and a lot of their books still do at times.
Tim Olson says this. Aunt May's, Peter, stop being such a selfish prick. Let me
For real. That's why I think Ultimate Spider-Man, the current Ultimate Spider-Man, is doing so well, because it's giving a lot of long time. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man isn't something that just brought in all of a sudden a bunch of new readers. It's a lot of older comic book fans like myself who have been dying and begging for, hey, Vaughn, I see you in the chat. What's up, my brother? Congratulations on the success for Phenomenova issue 3. Super excited to see your success there. It was finally giving me, as a Spider-Man fan, what I wanted, which is, I want to see Peter as an adult, and I want to see him struggle with things as an adult while still doing the superhero thing. Right? I don't need him to be struggling with the same things in perpetuity. That doesn't do anything for the character.
If we remember, he was a high school student until 30, 40 issues. Then he was in college. He graduated college. So you can't, unless you're a stunted, childless freak who, who works at Marvel for 35 years, bragging. I'm making fun of Tom Brevoort, but you don't have the same problems. But Peter Parker can be the everyman. Like, I don't know, my dad had 7 kids. He went to work every day. He had to work every overtime. We didn't go on vacation. There's a lot of drama and tension that you could come up with by being a married, and like it or not, comic book fans are older.
The vast majority of comic book fans are in their 30s and up.
Right. Guys my age, if guys my age are still into comics, they're spending hundreds of dollars a month on comics. You know what I mean? And I used to spend up until 2015 my last month buying Marvel and DC, I spent $400 that month on comics.
Oh,
And I'll say that wasn't too bizarre. That's how much I was spending on comics. And the stack was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but I was reading Hellboy and I was reading Usagi Yojimbo, and I was, oh, these are so good, these are so good. And I noticed that my Marvels and DCs were just stacking up because I'm like,
your to read pile was just continually getting larger and not shrinking.
He was only foil variances. He was only in high school for 2 years of publication time.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Absolutely
right. They got him right out of high school fast.
There was a comment here that Old Dirty Fatty, who's been one of my watchers for a long time. You're up late, got to get used to this new schedule. Yeah. I'm working a different shift. So it's either early in the morning or late at night when I can have guests. And Andrew over here was willing to stay up late. Because
thank you for being gracious and willing to have me on after you had a long day at work.
I like talking to people. I like talking about comic books. So, plus the best thing about this new shift is I don't have to turn my alarm on. I just go to bed and I wake up because I'm not going to wake up. I have to leave my house at 2 p.m. I'm not going to sleep till 2 p.m. So whatever time I wake up, it's like, oh, wow, I have all the sleep I want. Doesn't matter how late, but that's the only good thing. But then I don't see anybody. I don't get to talk. So I'm enjoying this. I'm making the most out of this. I spend most of my time now making comics.
Yeah, hey, that's a fantastic thing to spend your time on. God bless you.
Yeah, I'm working with 8 artists right now on 8 different stories.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So Renzo is drawing the stories that have to be told in a certain order because everything is leading up to something.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, okay, this story, whenever you're ready, because they're working on their own stuff. They got kids, wife and kid. So what this doesn't need to be in the schedule. Mm-hmm. So whenever you're done, we could put it in, kind of things. Okay. So who knows when this stuff will show up, but I got a schedule, and then I could add onto when everybody's done at their own.
I'd be more than happy to help promote it once those start launching.
I was going to say there's nothing wrong with not having kids. I don't have kids, and I'm making a superhero with kids, but nothing wrong with resentment toward those. Yes, I remember I was part of a game group that broke apart during COVID, and one of the last meetings we used to go to a restaurant and sit in the back, and they had these big tables that were perfect for board games. And I remember somebody came walking back there because they had a crying baby, and I guess they didn't know. I think that guy thought he was taking the baby to a place where it wouldn't bother anybody. Mm-hmm. But there was 30 people playing board games, and the baby's just crying, and he went and walked away. And one of the guys in the group just goes, "Oh my God!" I go, he goes, "Baby's crying." I go, "That's the sound. That's
what they do. Yeah,
that's what babies do." I said,
"The baby is alive, so it's going to cry."
I said, "Not liking children is not a good trait."
Yeah.
And he just rolled his eyes at me. I don't know. Typical New Yorker.
Well, I'm actually originally from upstate New York.
Oh yeah, where?
Rochester.
Okay. I'm on Long Island.
Okay.
My grandparents bought a house up in the Catskill Mountains, so I used to go up there. My high school girlfriend, she was older than me, so I was on high school, and every weekend I would drive up to Oneonta, to Rochester. So what's that? Orange County?
Mm.
Yeah. Are you near Brewster? Was that near Brewster?
I'm not sure.
Okay, because I used to drive through Brewster, and there was a big Brewster it had a big rooster, the Brewster Rooster.
Yeah.
And they had milkshakes. So I would, as I was driving up to visit my girlfriend, I would get a milkshake, and she'd be like, "Did you get a milkshake?" I'm like, "Yeah." Did you get?
Like, heck yeah, I did.
It would have been in my car for 2 hours. So what's the point? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But yeah, I thought that was near you. The biggest problem is they put that resentment in their comics. Yes, like I talked about
putting spite and resentment in your storytelling. Well, does not make for good storytelling.
Every writer puts themselves into the comic. You can't help it.
Sure, because you write what you know, at least to some degree, right?
But Batman's not you.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's not you. Like Alan Moore, he wrote Rorschach, and he didn't like Rorschach. From what I heard, I heard various stories, but I'll go with the current thing right now, that that he wanted people not to like Rorschach, but he made Rorschach.
Rorschach wound up being like the most liked character out
He's
of
the only
the
one
group.
with integrity and everything, and he's like shocked. But the thing is, he didn't make him a jerk. Like he wanted you like this right wing, because he was kind of goofing on Steve Ditko's objectivist ideas. Objectivist ideas. Even Alan Moore, they straw man Ayn Rand and then attack that straw man. Like it's not, what everybody pop Randian ideas is not really what Rand. I got into a Rand phase for a while, so I'm kind of defensive for Ayn Rand. She's not as bad as everybody says, guys. Actually, read her books. She's not that bad. She's a little wacky for my taste, but she's not that bad. But anyway, he made this character that was supposed to be an uncompromising zealot character, but he did it true and gave him his own thoughts and did everything logical and made a good character. He could have just said, okay, you're supposed to not like this character, so he could have made him a detestable person. But he had skill and he respected the character enough to give the character its own voice. That's what you do. Now, how many times do you just have, like, in Marvel, you read, Savage Dragon. I don't know why I still collect this comic. I'm buying it out of stubbornness. But Eric Larson's a screaming lefty. And in this particular issue, they're attacking these two villains are sex traffickers. They're absolute pieces of crap bad guys, and they have all of these women that they're using for. You can imagine. I don't need to explain what these women are used for. And the Savage Dragon's son and another superhero save these women, and they're beating the crap out of the supervillains. Fine, I got no problems with that. And then the superhero. The adult superhero, the Savage Dragon's kid, is acting like Robin. He's calling himself Robin. He goes, "I'll be your Robin. You can be my Batman," and stuff. And the one who's supposed to be the wise adult says, "Now we got to get out of here before those asshole ICE agents show up and deport all of these women." So, like,
when the focus should have just been on the fact that they saved these women from an unbelievably
now we got to
fate.
get them. Now we got to get these women out of here from the evil government forces. But I had to laugh because 4 years ago, the government forces were the good guys. I wonder what was different. They were happily working with all of the government forces. And it just shows you, like, once you throw your politics in, like, is the government good or is the government bad? It's just so, it just pulled me out of the comic. I'm like, do you honestly, truly, intellectually, deep down think that ICE is going to show up, find all of these women that are being sex trafficked, and then just start hitting them with their rifle butts? "You piece of crap immigrants, we caught you red-handed. We're going to send you," you know what I mean? Like, no, I'm as right-wing as they come in. That ain't going to happen. We want to help these people. You know what I mean? Like, they honestly don't think that the right-wing can help. That they can, and that's what they put in their comic. But anyway,
heavily political storytelling that isn't, here are the politics of this fictional world that I'm writing. Instead, I am putting politics of our world into this world that's supposed to be escapism.
Right.
It's never anything but divisive, and it's unnecessary. I think it also lacks narrative cleverness when you have to rely on that. And it's unfortunate because you can see it even in super talented writers. Use Mark Waid for a perfect example. Incredibly talented writer. He had the greatest run on The Flash of all time. And that's me even being a huge Jeff Johns fan. I think Mark Waid's run, at least his initial run pre Grant Morrison and Mark Miller's short one.
Joke Rogues Gallery into legit threats.
Incredible, right? Just masterful.
Yeah.
But when he started hyper emphasizing on other things in some of his other writing, and just being way too involved in politics, instead of focusing on what he was genuinely gifted at. Like, Mark Waid there are few writers in superhero comics who understand on a emotional and intellectual level superheroes like he does. Like, when he's on his grind, when he's doing his thing, it's like, man, this is This is
I
superheroes.
I was a fan of his since he started out with Brian Augusta doing Red Circle comics, like
Yeah.
the Red Shield, and
Yeah.
so I was following his career to the point like that whole thing with Richard C. Meyer. I was just like, what's going on, Mark?
Yeah.
Like, I honestly didn't realize he was like this. I just
Yeah. I think most people that's
kind of like
the
first of all, I was like, oh man, not you. I liked your stuff.
that's the detriment of social media, as well as the social media and online mindset, where this like obsessive, perpetually online mentality resides, where it's like you put too much of yourself into the online space instead of where it belongs, in the creativity and putting your energy into something positive. Because, like I said before, nobody is the best version of themselves online for the most part. Like it's too easy to fall into a spiteful mentality, a combative mentality, an arrogant mentality, whatever it is, whatever
Oh yeah.
negative thing you want. Because it's easy, because you're not having to look somebody in the eye as a human being
If
and act
you
that way.
if you're one of these weirdos that could go and look at all of my here I am, I'm going to give people that don't like me some fuel. If you go and look at my tweets from before I started my YouTube channel, there was a lot of argument in politics and nastiness and stuff. And then my wife said, "You're going to do a YouTube channel. You got to be careful on Twitter. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because you're just talking about comic books, and then if you're going to talk about the president and politics, she goes, you're going to alienate half the audience." So I did, but you could go back. I was just as bad as everybody else. Fine, you voted for that guy. What are you, a jerk? Blah blah blah. So that stuff, it literally hurt Marvel. Like, the sales are cut in half than they used to be.
It's
Yeah,
more beneficial to focus on the storytelling that unites us
right.
and the characters that we can all kind of be unified around. Like, even like I think back to, when I was in high school and middle school and shoot, even grade school, where I'd have friends that they liked these characters, but I liked these characters. But maybe there was some Venn diagram crossover where we both liked these characters,
Right.
right?
We
And
were
so it's like,
talking before we went live about how I was a Marvel fan. My friend Mike was a DC fan.
yeah,
And we used to bust each other's chops all the time. I'd be like, "Oh, you
exactly.
bouncing boy, lightning lad. These are the
That's
characters you like."
That's what being a comic book fan, and just I think a fan of, a geek culture before it became pop culture, right? Before it became kind of a more normiized medium, with the, for good or for ill, the advent of like the MCU and things that blew up these properties in a big, more in the public eye way. I think back to when I was even just in high school, which was, in the 2000s, and I getting kind of made fun of for being a fan of comic books and things like that. Now it's like, well, people might look at you kind of funny if you read comic books still, but like if you're a fan of specific superheroes, they've seen the MC movie of it probably,
Right.
right? And they're like, oh, well, cool, I saw that, whatever. And I think there's something positive there. But I think the focus should have always remained on like what are the things that unite us, regardless of, I I sit on this side of the aisle or that side of the aisle or whatever have you. I think finding the things that's the beauty of what geek culture was it brought a lot of
I
people who were already kind of outcasts together.
I always have to laugh when they decide this fictional character agrees with me, and that proves you're wrong.
Yeah,
Super
that's self-insertion. It's like, no, the character is just the character. You don't need to insert yourself into the
Captain
character.
America
How
hates
about you just
Nazis, so he's on my side. It's like, dude, everybody hates Nazis.
I think, yeah, anybody with their head screwed on straight, right?
Everybody hates Nazis. You know what I mean? Like, your delusion doesn't mean Captain America's on your side. And then, like,
I
well, Superman was a socialist because he used to fight bad landlords and wife beaters and drunk drivers. And it's just like, nobody
I
likes bad landlords.
nobody likes bad. I don't like. I've had a bad landlord. I don't like them either.
Like, you're mixing up populism with your politics. You know what I mean?
I think it's also partially people, because people are more than one thing. People are multifaceted for the most part, and so
Oh, I'm
I
not.
think that
I'm completely. I'm two-dimensional.
I think people will oftentimes want to um try and justify why they like a certain thing, and so they will then, at least like what we were just talking about,
Oh
people
no,
like trying to
I've
insert
been saying this for
themselves.
the longest time. You don't need to justify what you find beautiful. You like that girl? You think that girl's sexy? That's
I I
like,
agree.
I don't, but you can't. You think that food is delicious? Whatever. I think it's gross. You know what I mean? I don't like black olives on pizza. My wife loves black olives on pizza. We're never going to agree, so we get different pizzas. You know what I mean?
That's
Like
okay as long as you don't like pineapple on pizza.
I do like
Um,
on pizza, but
oh, come on, John. Oh, I
not my
thought we were
favorite
getting
thing.
along.
I know it's not my
Gosh.
favorite thing, and the other thing, it's like what you find funny. You know what I mean? Like humor. Like once you start having to explain a joke, it all right, it's just funny. But the same thing, like, never justify what you like. I like
You shouldn't have to,
you like
right?
the Flash, I like Superman. Like cool, you like whatever DC, I like Marvel.
I like both.
Yeah, I'm just making examples. Back
I like
back in
both.
the '80s, we're like you like First, you like Eclipse, you like
Yeah.
there were so many good choices. Now it's like I don't know. Everybody says they like comic books, but nobody's actually going to buy them.
There are a lot of people that at least feign to know things about comic books, but have never actually held one in their hand.
Get a good pineapple ham and you had me till the jalapenos. Now, before you call me a wimp, I love spicy food. It's the texture of jalapenos I don't like. If you puree a jalapeno, I'm all over that. I'll put habanero sauce on anything, but the texture of jalapenos, do you ever get the bad bologna and it has that plastic wrap or that skin around
I don't
it?
like bologna.
So that's what jalapenos remind me of, and they're just gross. Like I don't know, but whatever. But I don't know. It's a as a New Mexican, I take umbrage with the jalapeno discrimination. Tony's my buddy from New Mexico. Yeah. Ew, that bologna rim. People know what I'm talking about. I'm good. I believe I'm the only sole arbiter of. Well, that's true. Can't argue with Dirty Fatty. Can't argue.
That's wonderful.
I don't know, but I like right now. I at the risk of saying stuff that I shouldn't say. Like what's going on in this indie comic sphere is just disgusting, and it's not helping anybody. You like Brand X, you like Brand Y. That's about as descriptive as I'm going to get. I don't understand what's going on. Meanwhile, Gail Simone is laughing at us as she's cashing another X-Men check. And we're supposed to be doing a culture war over here. And two ant hills over here are fighting it out. And meanwhile, the juggernaut is still going on, destroying our favorite characters, our favorite hobby. They're diminishing the hobby as a worth, and we got these two ant hills over here yelling and screaming at each other, and the juggernaut's laughing at us. Look, they hate each other. We don't have to do anything. We can continue. We can continue making everybody gay. We can continue making turning everybody into a woman, make everybody gay, and everybody's a childless weirdo because what we psyop them into fighting each other. It's just so freaking stupid.
The indie comic space needs a come to Jesus moment, because the fact whether it becomes a matter of like, I guess, going against the mainstream, or even just for the sake of its own continued existence, comic books are a niche entertainment medium already, right? And so the mainstream is not in a healthy place comparative to years past. And so there is a lack of a sense of urgency and sense of purpose, I think, in the indie comic space. And not in everybody. This isn't a blanket statement, but I think in some aspects. Because
I'm just going to the refrigerator right here to get another soda.
You're good. If Marvel and DC, right, who have these characters who've existed for, in some cases, damn near a century, if they are struggling with sales on the publishing side, sure, they make money elsewhere. Okay, yeah. But if they're struggling to sell books, what gives any indie the right to arrogance, the right to act like they can flippantly um, risk bifurcating their audience, their already niche audience, as niche as comics already are. Then you go indie, and I'm not even talking like Image or IDW indie. I'm talking like indie,
Right.
right?
To
So
me,
not like
Image
secondary
Comics,
publishers.
Image Comics has a, a number one TV show, two
Yeah,
number one TV show. Like they have movies.
yeah,
Image Comics is mainstream. Like
yeah.
when people say the big two, like an Image, Dark Horse had Hellboy movies.
Hmm.
Indie comics are guys like us. Like, well, you're probably going to sell more than 500 copies of your comic, but guys like me selling 500 copies of my comic book. You know what I mean? Like we're indie. Like,
But there are people that don't even sell half that in the
right.
indie space. In fact, it's a vast
And,
majority.
and they're
And
not
so
part
that's just to that point. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like we as an indie comic book, not even community, just indie comic book creators can't afford to be pushing people away and going at each other's throats when instead you don't have to be best friends with everybody. That's not necessary. But what you also don't need to do is you don't need to be at each other's throats because that doesn't do anything for anybody. There have been so many times where fans of the Rippaverse have come over here because they were like, oh, well, I like these guys over here. And they mentioned you. So I'm gonna check out your stuff too. And vice versa. Like we've had people be
cross
like, hey man,
pollinate. Right.
thank you for turning
That
me on
that gives
to
me the goal.
yeah, a rising tide, right? Like
I
thank you
don't know.
for
Like right
telling
now,
me about
Vaughn Coleman's in my chat. He has a comic
yeah,
book called Phenomenova.
Phenomenova. Wonderful book.
Good comic. Not as good as Heroic Tales, but then again, Vaughn's kind of
Hey, that should be the attitude of any good creator worth their salt,
right.
right? Like, hey, that guy's got a pretty good book, but mine is better, right? Like a little bit, you gotta have a little bit of creative pride, right?
Yeah.
But everybody should be uplifting and edifying
Right.
each
A
other.
rising tide does float all boats.
Yeah,
And
it's important.
pouring Molotov cocktails into other people's boats sinks every boat.
Yeah,
Like
that explosion could be large enough to blow up everybody.
right. Like I because like you said, we are a niche market. Now, first off, comic books is if you're a comic book fan, and I'm talking about a person who goes and physically buys comic books.
I go to my LCS every single Wednesday after I leave the office.
So there you go. So you wake up, you make a conscious decision to get into your car, drive wherever it is into this weirdo store. Because if it's a comic book store, it's probably got one light flickering. You know what I mean? And the stereotype of the comic book store. And you go there and you buy the comics and you leave. And what is it, like 7 or 8 people? Unless it's new comic book day, then that one day a week it's packed. But anyway, there's people, there's some kid walking around who might love comic books, but he's not going to wake up and go, you know what? I think like this is what I say. Okay, model trains, because that's an old hobby that kind of disappeared. But some kid might be like, you know what? I want to go and discover this hobby, model trains, and go to a store that specializes in model trains, even though I know nothing about it, walk into the store, have somebody explain to me model train, buy model, and then that person goes, you know what? There might be an internet community about model trains. Watch YouTube channels about model trains, and then find out.
I hope it's better than the internet community for comic books.
Right. And then they all fight with each other. And then he goes, you know what? I'm going to get into fishing.
Yeah.
It's that bad. Like comic books have a really difficult barrier to entry. Like I said it earlier, the worst thing that ever happened to comic books was losing the newsstand. Now, depending upon who you talk to, the newsstand didn't want us. Other people saying that the Marvel and DC didn't want to deal with the newsstand. I don't know the truth. It's probably split down the middle.
A lot of times the truth is somewhere in between.
Like I got a buddy at work who what a strange hobby he has. I love people with strange hobbies. He's a Roman legionnaire reenactor. You know how they have Civil War reenactors?
Yeah.
This guy dresses up in the full Roman
centurion.
He's got a suit of armor, and he goes, it's really strict. He's the standard bearer. He goes, it's really strict. Like you will get voted out. Like you have to have your armor polished. You have to have your sandals done a certain way. You have to, you know what I mean? Because the Roman wouldn't tolerate it.
Yeah.
so he was showing me these pictures, and he has these sandals. The guy's like 6'6". He's just huge. That's
6'6".
He's got these custom made Roman sandals made. And I'm like, how the hell did you get them? He goes, there's two guys in the United States that's what they do, is they make custom Roman style sandals by hand for people who are into, but they charge a lot for it because that's their main business and it's a niche. And I'm like, in 20 years, that's us making comic books.
Yeah.
So some guy is going to be at work and be like, comic books? That's still a thing? Yeah, there's this guy, John's Longbox. He makes comic books. And he goes online and, and we're killing ourselves. Comic books is a niche of a niche of a niche. And then you go and do any
research. We're killing ourselves by way of trying to kill each other.
Right. And then you go on YouTube, you go, you hear about Rippaverse. And now you hear what's crazy people talking about Rippaverse. And you're like, I had a guy at work, old timer guy. He's into politics. He's in right-wing politics. And he goes, oh, you make comic books? Because he heard me talk about something. This is a true story. Mike, if you're watching, how you doing, Mike? I haven't seen you in a while. And he just goes, do you know this Ripper Comics? I was like, oh, yeah, of course. Eric Jaw has been on my channel. We talked. He goes, I just bought ISOM #1. I was like, oh, I got ISOM. He's like, yeah. He goes, because I was watching Ben Shapiro and blah, blah, blah. Like he went about the other way around.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And now he
went the route of like politics first and then came around this way.
So and he's like, yeah, I never bought a comic book before in my life. And he bought a comic book. And now we're talking about comic books. He ordered my comic book. He watches my YouTube channel. Mike, if you're watching, I miss you. You're a good guy. Construction, you go to different jobs. When the
job sure. You go where the work is, right? And where you're able to get the work.
I've been talking about comic books on YouTube I've been talking about comic books my whole life. These people making fun of Ripper, I've never met anybody in real life who buys their comics.
Right.
And I see people at conventions wearing ISOM shirts, Horseman shirts. Yara, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Yara.
Let it be known, like Andy and I would talk about this. I have 2 Ripper comics. And at the risk of offending people, I'm not the biggest fan.
Yeah, but it wasn't your bag. You didn't care for it.
Right. I did an honest review. We talked about it. I had Eric on the channel. We talked. We're cool. I've been on what's his name? Braxcast. We talked about Ripper. But you know what? Nobody's attacked me over it. You know what Ripper fans do when they find out that I'm not a fan of Ripper comics? They're like, oh man, you should try this issue. This happened, and they talk like comic book fans. They say, this is why I like it. This artist, this is pretty cool. Eric improved as a writer, and now he's doing this.
And maybe you didn't care for this book, but maybe you like this one. And that right there is something that's been comic books forever.
So I'm going to get Horseman because of Chuck Dixon. I'm officially.
I am a self-admitted Chuck Dixon fanboy.
Oh, yeah.
Anything Chuck Dixon writes, I'm a fan of for the most part.
But my point being is, other comic companies are calling me names, making fun of me for not liking their stuff. And another, I don't like their stuff. And what are they doing? They're talking to me. Oh man, you should really try this. I'm going to mail you a comic. You know what I mean? So I've gotten free, and I get so embarrassed. Please don't mail. I'm not asking for free comics. That's not the point of the story. You know what I mean? But they'll. One guy saw me at a convention. He's like, "Here, take this. I bought 2 copies here." You know what I mean? So who's the bad guy here? you know what's going on? That's what we need more of.
We just need more people who are here for the comics, and it's
gonna get sniped.
Oh, I'm sure we will. But something that I'm incredibly proud of, not because it's resulted in just more fans and sales on our end for the Rippaverse, but we've had people email us after getting some books, and then like I'll shout out some indies because I still try and support indies on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, Fund My Comic, and etc. I've bought Vaughn's first 2 as well as the third one. Actually, I did.
So how well did you like Heroic Tales #1?
I haven't gotten it yet. I'm gonna get the catch up with number 2. But what you need to do is you need to offer a size small.
Always be selling, Andrew.
Absolutely. I respect it. I respect it. You need to offer a size small on that damn t-shirt, man.
Oh, okay. You know what's funny?
Because I love that t-shirt. I DM'd you. I was like, man, I love that t-shirt design for Patriarch. That t-shirt design is beautiful. But I wear a size small. I'm a slender guy, man. A medium looks big on me. I need a small.
It's funny because I talked myself out of getting a small. I'll look to see if I have a small because I didn't list every. But here's the t-shirt design. Here's some sexy.
I love that shirt design, man.
But
so clean.
Well, we were talking about comic book design, and I was saying everything. I kind of stopped because I didn't want to keep pontificating, but everything falls from the name of the Patriarch. The Patriarch is a Greco-Roman name.
Mm-hmm.
So it invokes Greece and Rome, and then he's a superhero, fatherhood. You know, the Roman Emperor wore purple.
Mm-hmm.
So the purple and then men always think of the Roman Empire. That trope was going around.
Yeah, that was the whole thing on the internet for like an entire year.
So purple, the Roman Empire, men think of the Roman Empire, you know, and then the victory laurel, and then gold, you know, for the, and then white.
I'm a sucker for gold accenting on just about anything.
So everything from the name, and that's, you know, everything from the Patriarch, Greek, to the point where, you know, the Patriarch's wife is Greek Orthodox, you know, religion, and that's going to play a big part in the, you know, she always has her cross, her faith. That's a big part of the story. Mary Sue's Roman Catholic. That's a big part of her story. They fled persecution in Mao Zedong's China. The grandparents came to America in the 50s, so they're immigrants. The immigrants came over poor. Their son, they started a convenience store in Flushing, and then the son turned it to Sue Mart, and it's you know, a big chain of supermarkets. And so Mary Sue is born beautiful, rich, intelligent. You know, she's the perfect girl. And then, you know, she's a good girl. She's a Roman Catholic, perfect girl. So she's a virgin. She doesn't drink. She gets teased. You know, she's nerdy. She has 3 PhDs at the age of 22. And then she had
3 PhDs. My gosh.
Right. She's, you know, she's Chinese. You know, you got to get. Are you a doctor yet? Yeah, I'm a doctor 3 times over. Okay.
A doctor yet? I'm 17. I answer the question.
It's the ability to rewrite reality.
Yeah.
And it ain't all it's cracked up to be, because that just, the ultimate power is the ultimate responsibility. Always be selling. So there you go, guys.
I'm looking forward to checking it out. I am looking forward to checking it out. I'm gonna have to get the ketchup pack.
I might consider using his writing style, Mike Barron's writing style's influence for street level vigilante stories. Yeah, I have a street level vigilante who's the anti-patriarch. So just imagine you're a violent guy, and you're on a case, and you get a break, and you get on the payphone, and you call your wife, honey, you know, I'm on a case. The villain's over here. I'm going to go in there now. I just want to, and she goes, what? And she just goes, I want a divorce. And he hangs up the phone and beats the crap out of everybody. So whereas the Patriarch is happy, the Raven is an angry, bitter man who lost everything in the divorce. So just beat the crap out of villains.
takes his anger out on everybody else.
Yeah. So there you go. That'll be Heroic Tales number 3.
Excellent.
Views ain't sales. Talking drama crap gets views, but buyers don't want drama. Viewers, yeah, and sales are going down. Sales are going down. You know what's going on now is comic book fans, and I've heard it. And this is, I talked about every 3 months I say something I shouldn't say. I said that we as crowdfunders need to be strict and hold other crowdfunders to task. So when there's late books, you know, and my book is gonna, I said it was gonna ship in September. It's probably gonna ship in October now. So my book will be late too. I'm one of them. But people who just take the money and disappear, people who whatever, we need to be strict with them, because it does hurt our business. As the Rippaverse ain't hurting anybody's business.
So we don't crowdfund.
Right. They don't. Well, I don't know. To me, you kind of do, but it doesn't matter. But you take the money before the product, and then you deliver on time. Whether you call it crowdfunding or not, you're doing it professional, you do it on time, and the fans seem to like it. The fans are coming back. That's not, and just because somebody buys the Horseman doesn't mean that they're not going to buy Heroic Tales. There's
Correct.
enough money going around.
That's the weird socialist fixed pie mentality
Right.
of some
Me and
person's
Ron Coleman
success.
literally launched on the first day.
Yeah, one person's success means your failure, right? That's not a thing. Instead, what it is if you have networking, and you should be able to still be able to pitch and sell people, at least some people, on your product on your own. But if you network and you're able to foster those like professional relationships, doesn't mean you need to be best friends with everybody, but if you foster a professional or even just an amicable relationship with other people, then you will inevitably get people to say, hey, you might like this person's thing over here. Like, I wound up, like, the week that we launched my Ripazine that introduced my short story, Blue Shift Tryouts, with my speedster, I started like heavily trying to push other people's, specifically speedsters, as well. Because I was like, hey, so my whole thing was like, support your local speedster, right? And I was like, this could be a fun thing. And this is, I think, what indies should try and do to lift each other up, because inevitably what'll happen is you'll get what we've had over at the Rippaverse, which is people saying, hey, man, like so-and-so shouted you guys out on their stream or in a tweet or whatever, and I checked out your book and I really liked this one. This one wasn't for me, but I really like this one here. And vice versa. We'll have people saying, hey, man, like, I really like that. Thank you for mentioning or turning me on to so-and-so's book over there, you know, over on Kickstarter, over on Indiegogo, or Find My Comic, whatever. Like, I really liked it. I never would have heard about them otherwise.
Yeah.
Right?
I've heard people like Michael Bancroft, people like, oh man, Michael Bancroft showed some of your art.
Yeah, Lucent. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, the creator of the Lucent. So, you know, Michael Bancroft, I was on a Yellow Flash. I was on Thinking Critical, and people just like reached out like on Twitter, like, I saw you on this. I'm going to order your comic. Is it still available? You know, should I be fighting with Yellow Flash because he made a comic book? No, the guy made $100,000 on his freaking comic book. I'm making less than 10 grand on my comic book. You know, work with him.
Yeah,
it's just common.
Or at least be amicable, right? Like, just
he's been nothing but a gentleman to me. You know, I could talk bad about 3 people in the whole indie sphere, and I don't really want to.
It's not worth your energy.
Right. Right. So when I said that we, meaning us crowdfunders, we need to hold the bad actors to the task, I was honestly saying this is my business too, like it or not.
Right, because people who put a black mark on that drag down the. Right. You have to think of it from a customer standpoint, right? So when a customer sees some people never delivering on their product, then all of a sudden they're going to associate everybody that operates in the same relative sphere with that, right, wrong, or around the bend. That's just how a customer's mentality will be.
I've literally heard people send me DMs or tweets or messages in chat, you know, on live streams. I like your comic, but I'm going to wait till after it's published, or I'm just never going to get it because I've been burnt before by crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So yes, and yeah, it was about 10 people, but to me, 10 people is a big deal. You know, other people, 10 people is a drop in the bucket. But for me, 10 people is a big deal.
When you're still building your audience and trying to grow your audience, one person is a big deal.
Right. Yeah. So I was honestly saying this in like a, hey, constructive criticism. Let's all be better. And I got attacked and I got made fun of about it. And you know, whatever. I don't want to get into how bad it got, but I was like, dude, I didn't say anything wrong. I was called horrible names by people that when Trump opens up the asylums again, these people better look over their shoulders. But these, you know what I mean? Like, but I didn't say anything, but nobody said I was wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and
ad hominem attacks come when people have no argument as a counterpoint that stands up to any level of scrutiny. Right.
We need, and then the standard response. Well, Graham Nolan's. I'm not talking about Graham Nolan. If we were all like Graham Nolan, this wouldn't even be a discussion.
Graham Nolan delivers on his books.
Right. Right. So you know I'm not talking about Graham, and you know who I'm talking about. You know, and those people, but that's just it. The people who were affected by my words went the biggest berserkerwitz. But nobody said I was wrong. You know, and what got me is I like Rob Hunter, and I was talking about Death Raider. He was on my channel. I really liked him. I backed his book. I was rooting for him, and I could see the temptations of holding all of this money and then spending it. You know, and that's another thing. They attacked me when because I broke my neck. I was out of work for 6 months, and I still didn't spend the money that was in my comic book for. And I really wanted to because I had to pay a mortgage and I'm out of work. You know what I mean? So, but I still delivered my freaking comic books. But if I had $180,000 in my account while I was out of work, that would have been a big temptation to dip into that.
I would imagine. I can't begin to wrap my brain around having 180 grand.
So when I told that story, it was twisted into I'm broke. You know, and John's begging on the internet. I'm like, that's not what I said. And that's not what I said, but whatever. But you still never said I was wrong. You lied about me, which whatever. But anyway, I'm getting too, I know I'm gonna get snipped. All right. Let's check out. Do crowdfunding sites have bad reputations? Each crowdfunding site, and I'm sure NDAndrew can't really answer this because you use Ripasend. That's your own in-house publish. Oh, by the way,
I do purchase or rather back off of crowdfunding sites.
I want full credit for Ripaverse. It was my invention, by the way. I was on my channel and I said, listen, you are super successful. Right now, you're the big kahuna and I keep saying crowdfunding. You can see Eric didn't like that I said crowdfunding, but to me, it's the same thing. And I said, you should start a fulfillment service, and that way you could have some sort of like, okay, we're going to have standards. You want to use my fulfillment. You got to have X much of your book done and blah, blah. And he goes, that's a good idea, John. And then within a year, there was Rippercent. So legally, I'm your boss right now. You better.
Okay. Do I get to keep my job for another day?
So far, so good.
All right. That's all I can ask for.
But do crowdfunding sites have bad reputations? Each
like individuals on crowdfunding sites have bad reputations.
As a backer, I really like Indiegogo because they take your money right then and there, and I don't have to think about it. And I'm one of these. I never read the updates, so I get the book. If it's 4 years later, and I'm like, wait a minute, didn't I back this? Then I read the updates. But Indiegogo, they take your money, it's gone. Kickstarter, I don't like that the money comes out like 6 weeks later because it's a comic book. Impulse buy. Don't give people a chance. So as a creator, I don't particularly like Kickstarter because I just made 100 sales, and then the time for the money to come out, I only have 89 sales because 11 people, they didn't have the money, their credit card expired, they forgot about it, they changed their mind. So but Indiegogo shadow banned me. So why would, as a creator, I don't like Indiegogo? Why would I go to a mall, open up a store in that mall, and then put me behind a curtain?
That's a good way to put it.
Kickstarter, as a creator, I told you I didn't like it. As a backer, I kind of don't like it. But as a creator, I kind of do like it because it's got the most, like, Kickstarter people who don't even know who I am, they'll just scroll it through and they'll back me.
Kickstarter, I mean? From what I've purchased or backed several projects, probably good maybe 24 projects across the big two of the crowdfunding space, so Indiegogo and Kickstarter, and then I think maybe only twice on Fund My Comic. I have noticed that discoverability, which is a real point of struggle for a lot of indies, because that's the thing. Like, nobody can buy your product or back your product if they don't know you exist.
Right. That's the whole problem. Like I said, waking up and like, you know what? I'm going to get into this new hobby that I don't know anything about. I'm going to drive to a localized store that's, in a strip mall that I never go to. And then, or you wake up and be like, I'm going to go on the internet. And I'm going to buy this guy's comic book. I'm going to give him money now, and 8 months from now, under the best of conditions, I'm going to get a comic book.
Mhm.
You know, try explaining that to normie people. I did that last year when I made Heroic Tales #1. I was telling all the guys on the construction site, and all the guys were taking out their money out of their pockets right now and handing me money. I'm like, no, you got to go to this website, and they all put their money back in the pocket. They said, good luck with that.
Yeah.
You know, normies don't like crowdfunding.
Yeah.
So
it's a very specific audience.
So tell Eric this. You know, he'll probably get a kick out of this. I had to tell them that they were pre-ordering. Then they bought my comic.
Which is what we do.
Normies don't like crowdfunding. They don't understand it. They don't get it. Oh, but my favorite is Fund My Comic, where my comic is now. Eric Stone, Luke is the owner of Fund My Comic. He's a great guy. He's one of us. He's a creator. He's a normal blue collar guy, and I have his phone number. So believe me, guys, I made every freaking mistake possible when setting up a campaign, and I called him screaming like a lunatic. I look like a calm guy now. Wait until I make a mistake on a crowd. And he's calm. He's like, hey, John.
I'll walk you through it. Let's get
I'm like, stop with the small talk. He's like, no, it's fixed. It's fixed. I'm just talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, he's just the coolest guy. And he's a phenomenal artist. He's one of the artists that I'll be working with. He's working.
Oh, excellent.
He's working on a story called the Sleeper Agent.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Let's clear this up. Ripperverse makes a book and it's finished. The copy's printed and waiting in the warehouse. Then they put it on sale. That ain't great. Okay. When you explain it like that, then yeah, okay.
Yeah. So typically, what'll happen is once we put up a collection or a campaign, that means that the book, the project, is in one of probably about 2 phases. It's either in its lettering phase, and so it's probably a few weeks away, maybe a month away from getting the final print files sent to the printer, which then we'll start doing the final print proofs on, or it's already in that phase. And so we're just like slotting in, okay, so now when are we actually getting a print slot with our printer? Because printers, for anybody that's worked in not just indie comics, but anything that involves printing, most print companies aren't just printing whatever your silly comic book is. They're probably printing a great number of other things too. That's probably making them more money, like
right.
I don't know, yearbooks or whatever, right? And so you have to, figure out and schedule a print slot for your project. So that's generally where ours are at, and that's why we use the pre-order language.
This comment pretty concisely and clearly explained the difference. So I stand corrected. Yeah. If see, I thought you guys were still like maybe like 80% done, 75% done by the time you were soliciting your comics, because
now we're getting ready to shoot it to the printer and tell them to hit the big green button.
And you know what? I think I'm going to start doing that because I was supposed to be shipping in September, but then
it's a difficult thing to do.
I had a problem with one of the guys I'm working, and I don't want to throw anybody under the bus because health issues and things like that.
So things happen.
Right. So I think
people are human. People are fallible.
With my first comic, I think I'm going to be 4 weeks late with my second comic.
All things considered,
I'll make an update this weekend on all my platforms.
I think customers,
my mistake, and I think I'm going to be done before I even launch a campaign from now on.
I mean, if you're able to do that, I would recommend that, because that gives you the leeway just in case some hiccup happens along the way. You have a little bit more leeway. But I will say, I think customers, and I speak from experience on this as somebody who has backed quite a few crowdfunders myself. There's a little bit of like grace and give there, right? Where it's like,
I will say that most
updating.
They're very
just give it a little bit of updates on what's going on. Like, hey, there was a screw up with the printer, or my letterer got sick, or my colorist got sick, and so we're going to be running 2, 3, 4, 6 weeks behind, whatever. Like most people, I think most reasonable people are like, hey, I get it, because we've had that happen before, where it's like, hey, even if it's something like, hey, there was what was it, last year, the year before, there were the big storms that were going on over in Florida, and like that's where we get our CGC stuff taken care of. And so that held up our CGC stuff. And we were like, we're sorry, guys. Unfortunately, we can't control the weather. Thank you for giving us a little bit of grace and understanding. Things are going to be running probably about a month and a half behind because
I'm pretty
of that.
forgiving with late stuff.
Yeah. As long as you're remaining in contact with your people, and it's not like an egregious amount because I think most customers are smart, right? Where they're going to be like, I can understand certain things happening because life can be chaotic to where something's going to get set back a few weeks or maybe even a month or two, right? But then once you start going significantly beyond that, that's when you start getting into the territory of how are you managing your time? What are you doing?
Well, the thing that got me, and I like your boy Zach Richard C. Meyer, he would start talking about like, because this guy would be years late on multiple campaigns, which is fine. That didn't bother me. What bothered me was, and all of these other guys, they're bragging that their books are on time, and their books read like they're on time, and I'm like, that's a pretty nasty statement, because your books are 4 years late, Zach, and then when I got them, they were garbage. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to be late. It's another thing to say it's okay that I'm late because my books are so good. It's a thing to say your books suck, even though they're on time, they're professional or whatever. And then it's a third thing to deliver this years late book and it's garbage. So I was, I unforgivable.
I think as humans, we like to tell ourselves things that will make us feel better about our own shortcomings. I think that's just kind of the long and short of it.
I'm wonderful and happy and intelligent. My mom says I'm special.
My mom's been telling me I'm special. She's also been telling me I'm really good at pushing buttons for a great many years. Not sure what she means about that, but actually, I'm pretty certain I know what she means by that.
Yeah. It's the funny thing is again, I talk about this all the time. I'm a construction worker. I do pretty good for myself. I've been pretty fortunate. My wife works. We don't have any kids, so a couple of people got mad when I said that making my comics is my hobby, but I'm passionate about it. I would, when I retire in another 2 or 3 years, I would like to full-time make comics. Now, will it pay my bills? I don't think so, but I have a pension coming in, things like that. So I want to make comics, but I want to make it so that the comic books can pay for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of ideas and things like that. So
it'd be failing to be able to reinvest the profits from your books into the next project, right?
That's exactly what I'm doing.
To build it.
That's exactly what I'm doing. Like the comics from the first issue are paying for the comics for the second issue. These
That's
comics
the way to do it.
Are paying for the third. So, but I was explaining this to a comic pro who was on my channel. We were off the air. Because I said this live. I'm like, yeah, that's the way I do it. And so my comics are going to be about 75 to 80% done before I even launch. He's like, and then when we went off, he goes, listen, you don't do it that way. And I was like, well, he got all mad at me. He goes, you don't do the comic. He goes, when you're crowdfunding, that's supposed to be, okay, this is my idea. You do 3 pages, and then people start paying you, and then you realize it's worth doing. And if nobody wants to, you put up the campaign and it bombs, you only put 5 pages. That was like 2 weeks worth of work. And I was like, okay, like I didn't want to argue because this person was nice to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was giving me his perspective that I honestly didn't consider. Because I'm thinking from my perspective, this is my hobby. This I'm not dependent upon this. If I lay out the cash for a comic book and it totally flops, oh, well, that was something I did it out of my system. I still got my mortgage paid. I still got my car paid. I'm still eating. You know what I mean? But if these guys, a professional comic book guy, if they do a comic 90% done, do a campaign, and then it only makes $3,000, they're screwed.
Yeah.
So I understand their perspective. I totally understand. So to me, they should be harsher on everybody else that's making it look bad because they're total. I'm not dependent on crowdfunding. You know what I mean?
It's a hobby and a thing of passion.
I could stop tomorrow.
You're doing it because you love it, not because you're dependent upon it for a living.
My point being is these guys, the guy that got mad at me, you, because he was talking about how not desperate he was, but how it's like, no, this is what we got to do. This is how you should be like talking to all these other people that are making you look bad, making your business model look bad, making people who don't, because I got guys that just like you look, comics. Your comic looks good. Renzo's a great artist, but I just
Renzo's incredible.
I don't trust crowdfunding because of these other guys, not because of you. It's like I'm not going to Baltimore because not everybody in Baltimore is an idiot, but there's enough people in Baltimore that are an idiot that I don't want to go walk around in Baltimore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that, of course, every time I say that, people send me a list of names of all the great crowdfunders, and I'm talking bad about them. Guys, we got to stop being baby brain. Do you understand what I'm talking about?
It's a silly thing when people do that, because it's very clear, and I think they know that's what we call being intellectually dishonest, where it's like what the person's actually saying, but in order to suit your own feelings and insecurities, you're having to twist their words and make it as though they're saying something that they're not, and that's unfortunate. That's not necessary. Instead, you should be looking. A lot of people are very quick to look out the window and incredibly slow to look in the mirror.
Yeah, I agree. PB, I just realized your logic's finest. How you change your name and confusing me? Don't do that to an elderly old man. Don't do things like that. If that's how Pro does things, he sounds like he's bad. I don't know if he's bad at business. I just think like a lot of professional creators, a lot of artists, they got this. There's no way to say this without sounding mean, and I don't mean it. I mean completely respectful, but they got this like entitlement, like Michelangelo had a sponsor and a patron and blah 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 blah. No, that's great for Michelangelo, you know what I mean? But you're drawing Spider-Man. This is like it's like you're not entitled to anything. Even Michelangelo wasn't entitled to anything. You know what I mean? And if Michelangelo wasn't a genius, he produced these works of arts before, since he was a kid. You know what I mean? Like, knock it off. Produce. You're not entitled to anything. So if you think that I'm funding your lifestyle, I don't want to see videos for 6 hours a day of talking about stuff that's not doing what I'm paying for. I'm paying you to produce this art. And you're showing me by your behavior and online nonsense that you're not doing what I'm, as a patron of the arts, and sponsoring you to do. And I'm trying to be vague, but I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. So how is Rippaverse funded? Private investors?
So that's an interesting question, actually. So technically, it would be private investors if we want to consider our customers investors, because what we did was with the first ISOM campaign, we took the profits from that and we reinvested it back into the company, back into infrastructure, back into green lighting and getting artists paid for the next book. And we've just been doing that ever since. Every single time we turn a profit, which, thank God we've been able to do on all of our projects thus far, we reinvest that back into the company, into being able to either bring in more people into the warehouse to be able to have more swift fulfillment. And because like fulfillment, that's not a fun part of the process. Nobody wants to deal with fulfillment. Nobody wants to deal with
that, because I feel bad because I said I was going to use RJ from Critical Blast as fulfillment, but I didn't do that great, so I was penny pinching. Totally honest, and I fulfilled myself. I really enjoyed it.
Well, that's great. That makes really you a unicorn.
If I was doing Ripper numbers, I don't. I mean, I would enjoy it because that means I'm doing really well. But I
was going to say there'd be some part of you, I'm sure, that would be like, well, I like that.
That would be unfeasible for me sitting here watching YouTube videos.
Yeah, sure.
But 500 or so books. It was fun and enjoyable, and I'm glad that I did it. Everybody hates it. I don't know. I just love the whole process. I'm a weirdo who loves putting things in the mail. Like, if I owe you money, I'll write a check, put it in the mail, and then wait for you to get it. It's just satisfying. You know what I mean? Like this whole PayPal and instant, it takes away. Like I love like sending away for something as a little kid waiting for it and it shows up. I love that whole process. So this was like a lot of fun to me, putting it in the bag, putting it in the Gemini mail, or putting the tape on it, putting stickers inside of it, finding out where you lived. And every time I was on pirate ship, a line would form. So I'm from New York, and woo, over to Texas. Every
Yeah.
time I do the Indiana Jones music, dun, 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 dun.
That's fun.
And then I found out that the post office will come to your house and pick them all up. That was so much fun. The garage doors opening and the post office guys taking everything, put it in the truck. I enjoyed it. So there you go.
Well, that's fantastic. That makes you a unicorn, and God bless you for it, because fulfillment for most people, I would say, is not the most fun part of the job, and it's something that is still important because people need to get the thing that they paid for. And
it's the most important thing is actually making a fun comic, because without that you got nothing. And the second thing is getting it to people. Everything else, yeah, because without either one of those, if you're making a fun comic and you're not getting it to people, then you're just stealing money. And if you're sending people a bad comic, then you ain't getting a second chance to do it.
Michael, then they're not going to come back for the next one.
Your ears must have been burning. We were talking about you before, about how you are one of the people that actually promote and help. I launched both my campaigns on Michael Bancroft. I will never say a bad word from him, other than he's a dirty, dirty Australian, but he can't help it. But the internet doesn't like
some things are genetic, man. Like some things you just have no control over. It's an incidental.
I always laugh because Australians are very proud of the fact that we were founded as a penal colony, and it's like, so is America. The religious zealots and the criminals were thrown into America, so, also, but the internet doesn't want genuine opinions or adult discussions, just gotchas. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I try to minimize my time on the internet, or at least on social media.
I said something in genuine constructive criticism, because we're supposed to be a consumer movement, and next thing you know, I'm a bad guy. That's scary. Okay. The internet can't accept opinions, ain't fact, just opinions. Anyone disagree? Yeah. Misinformation. Sounds like Eric is a marketing genius. He's doing something right.
He's definitely doing something right in terms of the marketing. There's no question about that, and I'm happy to have a solid job because of it. I'm a beneficiary of said marketing.
I know what you're talking about, but I will say that I will not gamble. I refuse to gamble because I've
never so much as purchased a scratcher ticket in my life, because I work too hard to risk it.
Every Friday I buy a scratcher ticket, and I scratch it every Sunday night. So from Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday, I have a potential $1 million in my pocket. Sunday night, I have a piece of garbage that I throw away. But for the $2 to $3 that I spend on a scratcher, I have a good, pleasant daydream for a weekend. So that's the extent of my gambling. But for me, like, if you come to my house, I'll play poker with you for nickels, dimes. It's fun. But I'm not a good enough gambler. I know me. First off, I don't drink because I know I'll become an alcoholic. I won't smoke because I'll never quit smoking cigarettes. I don't do drugs. You know what I mean? When I do something, I go all in. I like comic books.
Addictive personality.
So if I started gambling, I'd be that guy in a barrel. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it's fun. Oh man, when I play, poker with my buddies, you get into it, man. So did you ever read Siddhartha? That was like the Buddha's only thing is he liked to gamble. Oh, I already saw that. Australians are better at being criminals than you smelly Americans.
It depends on what city you're in.
Yeah, depends. I gotta bounce my Australian superhero idea off of Bancroft one of these days.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't want to say the name; it's too brilliant.
Make sure it's not a cultural appropriation.
Yeah, it's okay. White people don't have culture, so it's okay.
Oh yeah, totally. My German heritage is the exact same as my Irish heritage.
Oh, dirty fatty! Don't buy the Powerball. Yeah, the Powerball is like up to almost $2 billion, something like that. And yes, I bought it. I bought one.
Half of that goes to the government.
I know. It's only $1 billion. What am I going to do with only $1 billion?
Right. It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that, but at the same time, it's still like freaking government.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. I'm so anti-government. It's funny. Me and my wife have like a rehearsal of what to do when we finally win the lottery.
Oh yeah.
I'll let you in on one secret. The first thing we do is we go down to the courthouse and we change our names and we don't tell anybody.
Wow.
So when they publish our names in the newspaper or say it on the news, oh, Gordon and Lydia Lipschitz just won the 1.7 power bill, and then everybody at work goes, "Oh, God damn it!" And I go, "Yeah, I know. Gee, why can't it be me?" And then, oh, by the way, I got to go home. I have a doctor's appointment.
Nobody's the wiser. I love it.
Nobody's
I love it.
I'm with you, John. I waste $2 just breathing. Yeah, it you have a daydream. $2. I get the $2 to
Fair
$3
enough.
voucher, and the funny thing is, it's the win for life. It's like $5,000 a week, because I know if I got like $6 billion, in 6 months I'd be poor.
At $5,000 a week would be incredible.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do an omnibus comic book. So I got to get an allowance. Yep. Actually, 3/3 of all that goes to the government. Yeah, I know. Do you remember? You said you grew up in New York. Do you remember when they announced the New York lottery and how it was going to pay for all the schools?
I do not.
But that was the
I left upstate New York when I was about 6.
Okay. Well, when I was, I think, starting college, so I think it was the 90s, that was the thing. We're going to have the New York State lottery, and it's going to pay for the schools. Well, how come the schools still suck?
I was going to say, I bet not much of that money went to the schools.
Where's the lottery money? This is something Eric will appreciate. Like, my brother's house was one of those houses that got destroyed by Hurricane Sandy. It was 8 feet underwater and everything like that. And it's funny, my sister's house was 2 blocks away, untouched. It was just completely weird how some houses were destroyed, some houses weren't touched. And my cousin was just like, "Oh man, they're giving out a $65 billion Hurricane Sandy relief bill." And I said, "Vote against it. Vote against it." He's like, "What are you talking about? Your own brother's house." I said, "Do you think my brother's going to get any money?"
He's not going to get anything. Yeah.
Guess how much money my brother got from that fund?
Big fat zero. Goose egg.
Insurance paid for it, then his insurance went up. So where did that $65 billion go? Do you remember the 12-12-12 concert? I don't know, but December 12th, 2012, they had the 12-12-12 concert, and it was like U2 and Phil Collins and
yeah.
And it was the biggest fundraiser in the history of the world. Where'd that money go?
Not to people.
$65 billion for this Sandy relief. 10,000 houses got destroyed. I don't know about you, but 65 billion divided by 10,000, my brother should be shitting on a golden toilet bowl right now. Where'd that money go? It went to insurance companies, who then doled out the minimal amount possible and then raised my brother's premiums. So F all of these government programs. Gordon Lipschitz. That's, if you ever see Lipschitz long box, I won the lottery. Yeah,
I'll keep an eye out.
Yeah, they were supposed to pay for the bridges and then disappear. It's all scams. It's all scams. See, we are at the point where I'm going to start saying stuff that I get myself in trouble. So do you want to continue talking, or would you like to opt out now before I get ridiculous?
I will say that as it is 1:15 for me, and I'm sure
it's
late as heck. Yeah, 2:15 for you. Probably let us both get some rest. But I will tell the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Those of you who came over from Foil Variant, from my Discord, from Spencer's Discord, from Twitter. Those of you who are regulars here on this channel in the chat, thank you for inviting me in and having me here. John, thank you for having me here in your digital home.
This here is a link to Ripazine 5. Now, forgive me, is this out already, or is it coming out?
This is coming out. So it's in the so it's currently in its pre-order phase. The pre-order window closes on the 26th of this month. We're actually so this coming week, we're probably going to be finalizing the print files for it. And hopefully we're going to have a quick turnaround on that, because I think at least my goal would be to be able to have copies on hand at the end of October when we go to SpaceCon in San Antonio. That would be my hope. If we can make that work, I think that would be really cool.
You guys come to any cons on the East Coast or near New York?
We haven't yet. The furthest, well, only I guess the closest we would have gone would have been in well, it was February this year. Next year, it's in March. MegaCon in Orlando. We haven't gone Northeast yet, so I don't know what that looks like. We're
How
just
about
this
Heroes
year.
Con?
What was that?
Any plans? Excuse me, for Heroes Con?
I'm actually bugging the rest of the leads and executive team for adding Heroes Con to our list because I know a bunch of people who go to Heroes Con. I'm pretty sure Vaughn went to Heroes Con.
Yeah.
My buddy V Ken Marion, who's an incredible artist, goes to
I
Heroes
have
Con.
friends who live nearby, so I got a place to crash. But I just couldn't go because of when I had my neck injury. I used all my
Broke your
time.
neck. Yeah.
I broke my neck. I was out of work for 6 months, so I couldn't take any time off. We have X amount of time off, but I surpassed that, and I had medical time off. So until January 1st, I have no more time off.
Yeah. Totally understand that. Absolutely understand. But Heroes Con is on the list of like places I do want us to go.
Yeah, go and meet up. That would be fun.
I'd love that. I would absolutely love that. I love meeting the fans
may
and just
or may
other
not be
creators.
Logic's finest. Andrew, when are we getting Delta Based by Mike Barron?
NDA.
Oh, that's real thing. I didn't know. Sometimes I get nervous. I don't know if it's like a joke, like busting chops or whatever.
It's kind of with me. It's a little bit of both.
Oh, okay. So it is a real thing because I know there's Alpha Core by Chuck Dixon. So is this a response or is this a joke or is this something
that is a response?
Okay, I wonder if this was like meme magic. We're just gonna say it until it happens.
No, that was a genuine response.
Okay. Mike Barron just he called me up. He messaged me and goes, "Give me your phone number." I'm like, okay,
that sounds like Mike, actually.
Yeah,
that sounds exactly like Mike.
I felt like my principal was calling me. So
right?
I give my phone number and he calls me. He goes, send me a comic. So I was like, okay, like a digital copy. Send me a digital copy. And then I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. So I'm like, oh yeah, Mike Barron hates my comic. You know what I mean? Like, because and then he's like, he calls me because he had my phone number. So the funny thing is, if you want all the gory details, I'm at work on a porta potty freezing, and Mike Barron.
What a time! What timing?
Like, possible time, but you don't. You take the call. Mike Barron calls you. You normally I would have been like, I can't talk right now, but it's Mike Barron. You got to take the call. So I'm sitting in a porta potty, and it's like, yeah, John, I just want to talk to you about that. I got one question to ask. So I answer. I don't want to spoil it, but okay. He goes, really good, really good. So he loved my Mary Sue story. He really liked it, and all I could think of is like, Mike Barron calls me up, gives me writing advice, critiques my comic, and then says thanks for everything, and then sends me a copy of Gooding, autograph in the mail. So I was like, and I got to say, Gooding was good. So I'm going to pick up a Horseman by Chuck Dixon, and
that's a fan favorite.
So I mean, like again, the Rippaverse, and I feel bad saying this, but I didn't particularly like Isom 1 and 2.
That's okay.
But again,
that's okay. You can say the same thing if you end up reading my short story. You can be like, "Hey, Andrew, it wasn't for me. I didn't really care for it. I won't be offended."
But you're a sensible person that's not going berserkowitz over it. You know what I mean? and the Ripper fans, like, they're like, okay, I could see why you didn't like, knowing you and your reasons and stuff. It makes sense.
Our fans might be like, okay, so you didn't like that, but maybe you like this instead.
Exactly. And I already know I like Chuck Dixon. I already know I like Mike Barron. So I think I'm gonna get a couple of things, save up on postage and shipping and everything like that. But my buddy Mike really loved Horseman. He's like, John, you got to get it. You got it. We have a thing for vigilantes. You know what
it's
I mean?
Hard to not like the thing with Horseman is it's about as easy in a sell as it gets. You've got the guy who wrote one of the most historic runs on just the entire Bat family and, had a great run on Punisher, creating a character that is the archetype that is essentially an amalgamation between those two characters with a little bit of other things thrown in for spice. And I don't know how you expect anything other than that's at least going to be fun.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's kind of a recipe for success. It was about the easiest sell possible. Yeah, like my buddy Mav in the chat just said with foil variant, most definitive runs on Nightwing and Robin.
You
Like
see, the prices came down. Yeah, because again, I feel so bad saying this. I don't want to hurt, but like with shipping, a comic book, $35 is a lot. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
$35 plus whatever, $8 shipping. That's over $40. That's a lot of money.
So I've been pretty harsh. That's why, again, always be selling. That's why my comic is $10, guys. 40 pages, $10. Best deal in crowdfunding. Not even joking. It literally is the best deal in crowdfunding. But comic books should be affordable. They should be frequent. You know, you got to strike with it, and you do. And I do notice that the prices of Ripper are coming down to more manageable levels. You got your stuff under control. So yeah, maybe it's time for another look under the hood. You know, everybody loves Horseman. So, and again, I'm a big Chuck Dixon fanboy, so I'll be picking that up.
Excellent. Happy to hear it.
And you got your 85 pages for 13. Oh, see, now you talk my language there. And again, are you Logic's finest? Because I recognize the avatar. So again, I'll put up your link, and then I guess we'll say our goodbyes. Here you go. I'm so glad that my internet is actually working, and I'm so glad that StreamYard is back to normal. It was driving me crazy. So
StreamYard can be finicky.
Yeah, so we got Ripazine 5, and that's a magazine. It's an anthology.
That's our magazine. So our Ripazines, what we do is we'll add each Ripazine will have a 13 to 16 page short story that is essentially a kind of testing ground, almost a pitch to the customers of like, hey, here's an idea. It's a fleshed out idea, at least on the back end, where the writer has plans for more. Like I have plans. If I get to do more Blue Shift, if I get to do more of my story, I already have multiple scripts written for that and ready. Like if the fans are like, hey, we want more of this, and enough of them say that to where Eric's like, you want to do more of this,
you
then
need to do that. Like you know, you don't have to pull the curtain behind the you know, the Wizard of Oz over here. But like, let's pretend Phil Moskowitz is on the team and he pitches a character. Does he have to have like everything thought out? Like, or is it just like, this guy kind of stretches, you know, I mean, I'm over exaggerating, but do you need to have like, how does this fit into the world? Like, does
he wants, what we look for is we want stuff that it's like, okay, so this clearly fits in, but we do want the short stories to feel like somebody doesn't necessarily have to have read our entire library or even a large chunk of our library yet. Because what we found is our zines end up being massive sellers at conventions. Because, you know, conventions are already expensive enough as it is to, you know, attend, especially if you've had to travel and you got, you know, the board, you know, if you're staying at a hotel and whatnot, if you don't have a buddy you can crash with, you got probably other things you're trying to pick up at the cons. You're probably trying to get autographs from celebrities and whatnot. So we understand that. So we end up pushing our magazine quite a lot at conventions, and it's an easy buy-in because you $7, 50 pages, and you get a 16-page short story, you know, four preview pages,
comic, you know. So
yeah, 4 sets of 5 preview pages for various books, as well as articles, some in-universe stuff, things like that. And so it's an easy sell there. And so we do, while we want things to be able to fit within the universe, and they do ultimately need to at least make sense within the universe, they don't need to be written such that people need to know what else is going on. They just need to know what's going on specifically in this short story.
I absolutely agree with that. You know, because one of the things, again, I was critical about crowdfunding, and I was trying to be helpful, that having a multi-issue story is so cool. We all love The Watchmen and stuff like that. But 9 months between issue, I don't remember, and I don't care. You know, like, oh, what was the name of this third string character again? Like, what did this character do? Is this the girlfriend? Is it, you know what I mean? So
Doomsday Clock ran into that problem at DC when it was delayed a billion times.
Right. You know, and that's DC. Like, if you're every month, by all means have a 7-issue arc. You know, once a month. That's fine. But like, months, years between issues, I don't know. So every Heroic Tales is contained 2 self-contained stories. You could buy issue 2 and never read issue number 1, you're going to understand everything. But if you buy them all in order, you're going to catch the main event when it
Yeah,
happens.
there's still a through line there, a narrative through line, right?
Perfect
Yeah.
way to describe it. Okay, so Ripazine is how manga is marketed. See, I don't know enough about manga. I got to learn more about manga. And that, like I said, I see normies. I've seen videos of other channels of like, hey guys, I'm at a convention, and I see guys with Isam and Rippa t-shirts in the background. You know, do I have to say anything else? You know what I mean? There's
We're
things
trying.
let's just say that there's things that I don't see. You know, one of them being Heroic Tales t-shirts on people yet.
Well, I was gonna say that's got to change because that t-shirt design is clean.
That's another, like, superheroes to me, as few line as possible. Like, a superhero name determines everything. The name, the powers, the costume, and the symbol. Like, it's a triangle. When I think of a superhero, I think of a triangle. The point,
The symbol should be something super eye-catching.
right? The symbol is in the middle. The power is the costume. It all has to equal what 180 degrees. It has to be at as few lines and as few colors as possible. Like, superheroes it's supposed to be like a costume, not a uniform. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be eye-catching. Like, I'm sorry, but the 90s look just doesn't work for me. The million lines and now I'm getting sleepy and I'm babbling. Yeah.
Over designed.
Yeah.
Things like that. I'm totally with you. Hey, I hope you enjoy Horseman when you get around to reading it.
I'm sure it's Chuck Dixon. I already know. I need a go-getter t-shirt, John. Okay. Yeah.
You make a go-getter t-shirt of your speedster, I will buy that shirt. I am pro speedster. I'm a speedster fan, so I will absolutely get that. In fact, give me a one shot of her. Give me a one shot story. I don't care if it's a 16-page short story. I want it.
Oh,
I don't know nothing about her yet.
It's funny because a bunch of people liked her, but if you may indulge me for a second, I'm going to tell you the breakout character that everybody just went nuts for is, where are you? Come on. This, of course, I clicked on the wrong thing. Forget it. I just clicked off her. But King Fu, my martial arts, world's greatest martial artist and Elvis impersonator. Everybody loves
Okay.
him. And get the hoodie with the Tennessee Dragon. There you go.
Oh, see, that's cool.
Look at the Elvis glasses.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
And here's the front. It's got this is my personal one, and these do come in small.
Oh, okay.
So
I just got to fix that with the t-shirt.
There you go.
I like that. That's clean. It's simple.
Memphis King Fighting Society. Yeah,
I like that.
so King Fu is good. But now I got it. Everybody. Well, every time I show a character, everybody says that's their new favorite character. So,
and that's exciting. You gotta like that kind of a reaction, right? Like, even if they own the hope is that they feel the same way after they read the character, but the initial reaction of them loving the design is certainly a positive.
I was trying to get it, but I clicked off the file, and now it's asking me and I'm too sleepy to remember what all my stuff was. So
don't even sweat it.
Yeah, Gooding was good. I did like Gooding. Gooding was good. I need to go to karate class with that King Fu hoodie. Yeah, I got a box of them right here.
Sounds perfectly appropriate.
Here, I'm just waiting for the comic. The colorist's father had a heart issue. It was in the hospital, and because of where he lives, he had to travel to the special. So he wasn't home for 2 months. He wasn't home for 2 months. And what am I going to do? Say, color the comic book? Your father matters. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
It matters. So we have to take care of that before we can finish. So he's working on it now. He's trying to make up for lost time. So he will be done with the coloring. I think he said by Wednesday. And then it takes about a week to letter. I get an editor to do as fast as possible, and then however long it takes to clean up the files. So probably a month from shipping. All right, but now I'm babbling. I am legit babbling, and I'm way overtired. Andrew's going to bring characters from other nations into Florida Spark. Oh, okay, there we go.
So I'm sure there will be other characters that emigrate into Flores Park at some point or another. However, we are about to explore quite a bit outside of Flores Park. So we already have established quite a few characters within Flores Park, Texas. Now it's time to start exploring areas outside of that. We don't want to overpopulate. Flores Park is a very large city. However, not everybody is going to reside in and operate out of there. There's going to be a lot of other places. In fact, I've been a little bit a part of the world building outside of that. So I'm looking forward to readers getting some peeks into other locations within our universe.
Do you have a real world location for the city of Floral Spark in Texas? Because I know it's in Texas. Is it like Metropolis is in the United States, but we don't really know where?
It's a vaguely placed. We have internally a spot, but it's just in terms of publicly, it's a vaguely placed spot in Texas.
Okay, because Science City, the city in Heroic Tales, it's I'll it's you'll find out there's an exact location because there really is a ghost town there,
Mm-hmm.
and the ghost town still exists. I've been there, and it's really cool. And I said someday I'd like to set a story here. So they, in my world, they built the city on the ghost town because they just bought it out and built, because there's a reason why everybody left, and
Right.
that'll be explored in Heroic Tales 5.
Ah,
It's can be set in the old west, but it's not a western.
spoilers.
Yeah. Zaylen. Oh, Zaylen, I gotta get. I forgot Chuck Dixon did 2 different characters. Yeah, I'm really curious because Chuck Dixon is not known for his cosmic characters.
No, he's not. That one was a big
really
surprise for me
to see that. And it's funny because when he was on my channel, he said he always wanted to write the Fantastic Four. And he told me his pitch for the Fantastic Four story, and it was so good. And I obviously can't tell it because he probably put it in Zaylen or something like that. It's a cosmic story, you know what I mean? But guys, what Marvel? What the f is wrong with you? You got writers that are at the top of their game, and you tossing them away over politics. You tell me Mike Barron can't make the Punisher the #1 selling comic book right now?
Oh, Punisher would be doing a killing if they'd let Mike Barron still write him.
Chuck Dixon back on Batman, Mike Barron back on the Punisher.
Don't do that to me.
I know.
I only have so much money.
You know, and then let like Chuck Dixon do his 6-issue Fantastic Four story. Oh, come on, guys. What is wrong with you? You know, we got to stage a coup, get them out. But anyway, for real this time, I'm gonna go because I'm starting to get daffy and saying stupid. I almost told something that
there's nothing daffy about saying Mike Barron should still be writing Punisher and Chuck Dixon should still be writing Batman. There's nothing daffy about that.
Well, I can't believe we got so many people watching. We got up to 50 people watching at one point at 2:30 in the morning on a channel that's not known for being this late. So thank you, everybody. And I'm sure NDA's people have been here watching. So if I can interest you in checking out Fund My Comic for Heroic Tales,
check out Heroic Tales.
You could get issue 1 and 2 in a bundle. You could get all these merchandise, T-shirts, cards, pint glasses, and a whole bunch of stuff. The hoodie, it's all there, and it will stay active until issue 3, and then we'll roll it all over. So good night, everybody, and you get the last word. Anything you want to say?
Hey guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Thank you so much for hanging out with us so late into the evening or early into the morning, depending on wherever the hell you are or whenever the hell you are. Thank you for supporting Heroic Tales by John. Thank you for supporting whatever book it is over the Rippaverse that you do, or if it's just any of the other cool creators in this space, whether it's Vaughn, whether it's Bancroft, whether it's Rainey. Thank you for supporting indie comics. I hope you check out Ripazine #5, which has my debut short story, Blue Shift Tryouts, our first Rippaverse solo speedster. I put a lot of heart and soul and blood, sweat, and tears into that story. Check it out if it so tickles your fancy. But until the next stream that I see you all on and that John sees you all on, God bless and Godspeed.
Oh, I just thought for Pride Month, you could be like purple shift or like lavender shift or something.
That'd be rainbow shift or something.
Rainbow shift. There you go. Rainbow shift. All right. And on that note, good night, everybody.
Goodbye, kids.